Hey fellas, Future Neon here. This is part 2 of the Winter 2024 Seasonal Anime Impressions podcast on Castaway Anime, so if you haven't seen part 1, click the card in the top right hand corner to check it out. Unfortunately, Keksi could not join us for part 2, so it's just myself, Crunchy, and Kai does anime, so be sure to subscribe to all of our channels, links down below.
Now, I've heard some people gas the manga for this, but I haven't seen much talk of the anime specifically. So, Chain Soldier, what do we think of it? Was it good? It was bad. It was really
They
bad.
fucking murdered it.
But in a very funny way. I was laughing pretty much continuously over the course of this episode because it is so comically bad and so many ways in which some of them are explicable, some of them are just it having a comically horrendous production in certain areas. Yeah, I mean, it was fun to watch, but would I watch any more of it? No, because I'm having fun at its expense the entire time, not necessarily because it has a good plot or anything.
This is similar to like Solo Leveling, where I know the source material pretty well because yeah, the manga is actually pretty solid. But this just, what did they do here? The CGI,
Okay, as a manga
colors.
reader, I really want to hear your take on the story, because that was something else that I laughed my ass off at. And so I'm wondering, did they butcher it, or are they adapting it faithfully just with horrible CG monsters?
Look, this
And
series
it was always that bad.
The series' appeal is not the story. It's the fights
Oh gee, I couldn't tell.
and the fan service. And when you don't have either of those, like this does, like the story isn't good enough to carry a show or a manga. Or this story is not good enough to carry a show or a manga. It's the stuff surrounding it. But they butchered the stuff around it, so I mean, like, what's the point?
Something interesting to me is that even as someone who has not read the manga, I can tell that they kind of butchered the art style and aesthetic of the manga, because I've seen the cover of the first volume of the manga, and each time I see it, there's like this slight impulse in my brain of, maybe I should check it out, because that character design is actually really good, it's got really appealing colors. Then you watch the anime, and like, sure, it's still a good design, but the art style is so generic. It's so bland looking.
Yeah, they really simplified the style, and then they added like the most hideous colors to everything, so that
Oh yeah, you're right. I'm looking at it right now.
so that the main characters, honestly, they look fine. They look okay. They don't look good, but like you could do a lot worse. Just everything surrounding them looks god awful. It's
Well,
like
I'm actually
you're
going to
watching.
disagree with you slightly there, because when I was watching the first episode, my thought was, oh my god, the main character is John every anime. But then I'm looking at the AniList page with a picture in the manga's art style of the main character, and he actually has like some personality to his design. Like, it's not great or anything, but you can tell that he isn't. I would not call this guy a John Every anime, but I'd sure as hell call the guy in the anime a John Every anime, because he's just so boring looking. So they've definitely wrung the soul out of him. And for the other designs too, like I look at the manga versions, and they've got, yeah, like you said, better colors. Just better everything. They look like more fully realized designs. And
Yeah, I'm not going to say that they did a good job adapting it for the anime, but they did a better job compared to the like everything else. It's not good, but it's a step above the rest of the production.
Well, yeah, the backgrounds are atrocious.
Everything is atrocious.
It's a like visual soup. It's
Boy howdy, I sure do love CG action scenes with incomprehensible action direction.
Oh my god!
Where I can't even tell what's happening.
There was one string of animation, right? It's when the white-haired girl and the main character are on this demon that she's controlling, and she runs down this hill, and for a second I had no clue what was happening, because the monsters blend into the background, and they're moving so quickly and the camera's being thrown around constantly that I was like, what the fuck even happened? Hold on, let's go back and analyze that frame by frame, because I lost track of what is going on in this fight scene. Not a good sign, clearly.
The direction also just isn't great. Like, there's a lot of getting lost in the action, not just in the colors, but like the camera just isn't consistent with how it's framing any of it. So it's just hard to follow the lines of motion when action is actually happening. There's like a lot of other problems with the production. Like, they have these weird filters that they put over stuff to like do
you
titles or
reminded
whatnot.
me of those. They're so
And it
hideous.
is some of the worst inserts I think I've seen in anime, period. It's like,
Yes,
what
let
did
me
you
just get
do here?
generic calligraphy fonts to show the character names, and then put this hideous, I don't even know how to call it, but it just this weird
It's like a step
filter.
below Instagram filters.
Yeah, when I saw it, I was like, that's something I'd put in a video as like a basic Vegas filter, not something a professional studio should be putting on their anime, unless they know how to do it in a way that hides the fact that it totally just looks like a generic insert.
This is a very weird but specific comparison. When I saw the demon world that the characters get sucked into, it reminded me of the Doom dimension from the Bakugan anime. And then I remembered, hey, the Bakugan anime had like pretty shit production values in retrospect, and it still looks like 10 times better than this visual vomit.
Yeah, let me go back to the show actually to look at the dimension. Because my big problem was that it was just so dark looking. Like
it's like a combo of it's dark,
not
but it's like the colors within it. It's like this weird mix of reds, purples, and whatnot. And it's just hard to really tell, like, land masses. It's hard to tell what's going on in all that, because it just all kind of blends together in a like weird mesh. Like the textures of the or I'm assuming it's CG textures, because my god, if someone hand drew this, I'm sorry. But like the CG textures of like the ground and the sky are extremely similar, so it's actually sometimes hard to tell what the ground even is. The saving grace is that the sky has like this like weird aurora borealis looking thing in it sometimes, and like, yeah, that makes it easier to tell, but at the same time the colors of it are even more clashing and it still looks ugly.
Yeah, so what I was thinking while watching this was like, why don't you just make the mountains in the background completely silhouetted? Because I'm looking at it again right now. They're totally CG textures as far as I can tell. They also look bad. And the entire thing just, like you said, looks like visual soup. But if you just make the mountains in the background like completely silhouetted, keeping the little purple gradient they got to break it up a little, you can contrast that really hard against the sky, then find some way to make the rocks nearer to them just look good. Just make the background, or not the background, the ground actually look good. God, I just don't like the colors they used. Feels like they had an idea, they did not do a good job of executing it well.
The colors are like, who did the production design for this? Like, this is rough. This is bad.
This one is 7 arcs.
This is some of the like worst adaptation I've seen in anime in a long time.
Well, they also did Tonikaku, so that explains the visuals.
Like,
yeah, they did Blue Period.
Blue
So
Period
literally
was
all
fine,
the recent
though.
adaptations. Blue Period was...
It wasn't
I've heard
good,
it's
but it
good
was
for its
perfectly
script.
average.
But the visuals on that show were dog shit. Whereas the manga Yeah, and its story, are supposed to be really good. I don't know, I haven't seen past the first episode, and I didn't really like the story in that one. But I've heard that the manga's story is really good. But with those production values, I could not imagine myself watching the anime. And sure enough, with this, if I was to ever continue the story, which is extremely questionable, by the way, probably not happening at all. But if I were to, I'd just go with the manga. This anime looks terrible. So why would I choose it over the manga?
Just read the manga for this, honestly. Just it does so many things wrong.
Don't read the manga because the story is complete garbage. The main character is complete garbage. So
what I will say is that the manga, the fight scenes go hard. Like, they're very well done, which makes up for the story being just kind of okay. If you want just like a turn your brain off kind of manga, this is a very good choice. It's got very creative paneling and whatnot.
It's the dominatrix counterpart to Gushing this season.
I had that exact same thought, where it's like, okay, first of all, we've had a lot of BDSM shows this season. I mean, if I had a nickel
for every time,
it'd be 3, shockingly. It's 3 of them. Because we've got this show, which is if you're a sub, you watch this one. If you're a dom, you watch Gushing. And then that one angel show, how am I blanking on the title?
Foolish Dancing with Devil or something?
Foolish Angel Dances with Devil. That at the end, I'm not sure if it's going to go hard in that direction as much as these 2 shows, but it clearly had
I think that was like more of a
dom
one-time
vibes.
thing.
It might have been.
Also similar to
either way,
Chain Soldier in that it has shit CGI chains in it.
Well, yeah, but that show is also visually atrocious.
And they also have the thing in common where they're all bad.
Well, we can argue about Foolish Angel and Gushing. I'd say this is easily the worst of the 3. Because Gushing had so much soul in it. You can say what you want about the production, about the story or lack thereof, about the comedy or lack thereof, or about how you need to be into BDSM
I
to
could
like
tell
it.
that it came from a place of passion.
As
maybe misguided as that passion may have been.
The author of that manga was clearly super into what he was drawing. But with this, the passion is not immediately evident in the anime adaptation.
Yeah, at least with like Foolish Angel Dances with the Devil. From the manga readers that I've seen online talking about it, they're like, it's not the perfect adaptation we wanted, but like it's good enough. This, I don't see anyone who likes the source material happy with it.
Yeah, so I guess I just want to get into the story real quick because we've been harping on the production values, deservedly so because it's its weakest element. But even without the production values, they'd have to be really good for me to consider giving this a second shot. Because the story itself is not good, in my opinion. So it's about this dude, and he has this conflict that's very poorly set up, where he's at an impasse in life, he's going to go into the workforce, but he doesn't want to wallow away in mediocrity. And I wish we had gotten more of a look into that. Set up that element of his character, maybe get more of his thoughts and feelings about being mediocre. Maybe he has this fierce drive that's brimming underneath the surface, but he doesn't know what to do with it because society is just putting him down. The reverse patriarchy has led him to, just wallow away in mediocrity this entire time. But he has that burning passion, right? Maybe you could emphasize that, do a little more with it, give him a bit more of a personality, because as it stands, like I said, John Every Anime. He has a John Every Anime design, and he has a John Every Anime personality for the most part. I guess he does have a goal, which is, you can say something about that. It's theoretically interesting to not want to just have a normal job. I mean, I relate to that. But at the same time, you didn't really go into much depth with that struggle. And then we get into the big fuck off action sequence that takes up most of the episode. It's CG, it's bad, and the hook of the show is essentially that main boy here gets turned into a slave, or I guess a chained soldier in the American version, where she basically says, "Hey yo, you're gonna be my slave, and I'm gonna compensate you for what you do." First of all, I think the power is just kind of lame, right? And the reason why is because when he is in his beast mode, he has no thought, not a single thought going through his brain. He no think at all. He is just a conduit through which the girl's commands are expressed. And I think that is extremely, extremely lame. Because we do not get any monologue, any thoughts, any feelings about the fight.
Not even
that
an
is
explanation
going
of
on.
why he becomes a beast man.
I will say that's a anime original issue, because it's very clear in the manga that it's still him in there. Like, he
Well,
still
what the fuck?
is the
they
same dude.
they killed it then. That
Yeah,
was
that's
like
a-
one
that's
of
a
my
prob-
biggest
that's a
complaints.
problem of
It's so
adaptation.
lame.
I will also say that the pacing at the very beginning, they very much just adapt the manga very straightforwardly up until that fight scene, and then the fight scene has the same general beats, but you're less adapting panel layouts and whatnot, and the direction is original, which honestly is a loss. If they just turned the manga into a storyboard and had the direction off of that, it probably would have been better, because the action is at least digestible. But yeah, that's an
Yeah.
anime original problem.
All right, thanks for clarifying that, because I thought it was so lame. Especially because they don't really expressly say that he has no thoughts, but the way that he just sort of tears into everyone immediately, coupled with the little shot of the of the Beastovision or whatever. I'm just gonna call it the Beastovision. I don't know exactly how to describe him. It's like seeing things through his perspective, and it's like all colored weirdly. So, and I thought that was just meant to show us that, oh hey, he's just this beast relying on instinct, no thoughts in there, nothing in his head empty, no thoughts.
Yeah, no, he definitely has a personality, and even in beast mode. Actually, almost more in beast mode, because in the manga, he's fairly expressive in it, and that just isn't translated at all.
I did look at the manga panels, and he looks way better in the manga than he does in the anime. It looks like he's actually drawn with characterization in his facial expressions in the manga.
Yeah, it's hard to do much with the jank CG that they're using for the anime, but
I was just talking with his normal facial expressions.
Yeah.
Yeah, so another thing I had, another thought I had while watching is, okay, so basically he needs to be compensated for doing all of this for her. It's in the magical pact, right? And that involves making out or whatever, which, by the way, hilarious scene. I was laughing uncontrollably. I could not contain myself.
Oh my god, he's just like me.
It looks terrible.
But my thought immediately was, okay, but he's clearly into the girl, right? So what happens when that becomes sex? That would get real dark real fast, because she's forced into it due to a magical pact. And he's kind of also forced into it due to a magical pact. What happens when that happens?
I will say
the issue is that will never happen, because the manga will have to skirt. Two things can happen, and one of them is extremely likely and bad, and the other one is the good ending. That will not happen, because this is not that kind of story. The first is that he will never think of that in his head, or for whatever reason, that'll be the ultimate compensation, and he never does anything enough to justify that. Some kind of silly explanation like that. Okay, fine, lame. We're just gonna play this game where it never amounts to anything.
Yuki, if
even
you make
though
me
it's
the
an
supreme
edgy...
commander pirate king of all the commanders, then I'll fuck you.
But the thing is, there's also the second version where they just fall in love and they're chill with it. And sure, that's what the manga's inevitably building to. They're gonna fall in love and actually like it. That blush wasn't put there for no reason. But my fear is we're gonna take like 20 seasons to get to that point, and then by the time they actually ask each other out, it's gonna be over, and it's gonna be super cringe and lame. We're all gonna be like, why did I even get
I have
invested
a
in
different
that
problem with this power of hers. This is supposed to be a dominatrix dom sub kind of show, right? And her power is that she can control anything she touches and makes her into her slave. Why
you're
does
right.
why is she forced to give a reward? That's not. Now granted, I'm not particularly well versed in the BDSM community, but is that not the point of like a dominatrix? Is that they like take complete control and they only dole out rewards if they feel like it? Like when in reality they could just say, no.
The main
I don't know,
character is so unfuckable that they have to have this mechanic in the show. That's your answer, Neon.
To me, it's
Yeah,
just
I know the meta contextual reason why it has to be there, but I feel like we're kind of flying in the face of, what an actual dominatrix would entail.
I don't know. Like I will say, just someone who's read the manga, it just gets more kinky. It doesn't really like go one way or the other all that much. Granted, it's been a while since I've caught up with it, but from what I remember, as of like last September, that's how it was going. And the whole thing with her powers, the power structure for all the characters gets fleshed out more and more as the story goes.
She looks like she has the only interesting power, because everyone else's powers are really fucking lame.
Actually, no, you're wrong, Neon. One of the girl's hands turns into a machine gun.
Oh, so cool.
There are definitely more interesting powers as
funny.
It goes on.
I mean, I don't know what you're going on about.
There's no like
saw that.
There's no wowness to it. It's not like it's not like a Transformers thing where like she could mechanically morph her hand or her arm into a machine gun. No, it just magics into a machine gun. It's like, what's the difference? You took like a cool concept and you just made it lame.
Okay, but here's another lame thing. Because there was a part of me that was like, okay, everything about this show is terrible, but maybe, it's kind of funny, kind of enjoyable in a weird laughing at it way. But then, the ending made me realize that touching this anime ever again would be a mistake. Because I thought, okay, they're all part of this, organization that's here to take down the bad guys who, appear in alternate dimensions. So it's gonna be like this big HQ where there's all sorts of people from all sorts of different places coming in and out. We get to see all sorts of wacky characters. No, it sort of becomes the setup of a harem anime, weirdly, and I'm not sure if it's going in that direction, but it's the exact same setup.
It
as
definitely is,
because it's like this
1,000% is.
It's this weird, ramshackle inn sort of house that he becomes the caretaker of. And it's like, oh wow, he has to take care of all these girls. Where have I seen that premise before? Oh, it's in this little wooden inn sort of house. Where have I seen that premise before? Totally not in yet more harem anime. And dude, I groaned so loud when I saw the one girl go like, oh, I went to an all-girls school. This is my first time seeing a boy up close. Really? Really? Are you serious? No, you aren't. There's no way any human being would ever say this line unless you were a hikikomori. You exist in reality. You have to have
Crunchy,
seen
did you
up
pop
close.
off? Did you stand up and applaud when the pink-haired girl said she was 11 years old?
Honestly, she was easily the most likable character of the three. Because the other bitch was like, oh, you're a man. I don't want you anywhere near me. But fine, I guess I'll have to accept you here. Do my laundry, whatever she wanted him to do. And I'm like, oh, yeah, we have to have the scene of the one girl being like, oh, I'm a slut. I like men. And the other girl being like, no, I'm not a slut. I don't like men. because that's the most obvious trait in the world you would give these characters based on the setup. And I was just like, this is so inane. This is nothing. Why am I watching this? It's so bad.
I will say what it ends up doing is a little bit of both, where you get the cast expands into the other Demon Core or Demon Hunter Core, whatever the name is, groups, but then you also like have some harem elements within the main house.
When I was looking through the different manga panels on Google Images, I saw one girl with a dog collar who is trying to, I think, put it on the main dude and try to make him hers. So yeah, I think I've got a pretty good idea of what the direction of this show is gonna go in, and I've got negative interest, Bob.
Yeah, at the very least, I will say this. It's far from the most boring episode of this season. You know, it's this says more about the season.
I watched the whole thing without skipping.
It might have some of the worst production value though, which sucks.
Yeah, it's among the worst looking, but it has a pulse. And that's more than all of the isekai. So, well, all of them except for Weakest Tamer, which I've heard is actually pretty good. I didn't see it because I saw isekai and ran 5 miles in the opposite direction, but maybe it's actually good this time.
Well, speaking of actually good, Sign of Affection, the hype was true. It is pretty actually damn good.
I'm mixed.
Crunchy.
It's not bad.
Here comes Party Pooper Crunchy.
Yeah, yet again.
Hates love, can never get any bitches, has to take his aggression out on everyone else.
What do you have to say? Let's hear the reason.
It is the most perfectly acceptable 6 out of 10 experience I have ever watched, but it never got any better or any worse than a 6 out of 10. Except for maybe the very end when she started jumping around giddy and all happy. Then it was like, why couldn't the rest of the episode be that good? That was like the one part where
that good.
You have to set it up.
I know you have to set it up.
The rest of the episode was that good.
My main issue with it is that to me the main guy just has no charm whatsoever. I like the main girl.
What do you mean he got no charm? Twunk Gojo got that disabled Riz.
See, the issue is... Well, okay, first of all, he's ugly as sin. It's just...
What?
Something about it.
I feel like that's less him and more of the art style of the show. That's my biggest problem with the show. Everyone has weird lips and I don't like it.
Yeah, so like
everyone's
I get
bottom
that it's
lips
an
are too
art
bulbous
style
and
thing.
too big.
Yeah, I get that it's an art style thing, but he is by far hit the worst by it for whatever reason. I just look at him and go, oh wow, it's Soy Jack Soya from Sangatsu no Lion. It's literally when I represent my enemies.
I just
with
think
the
he
Soy
like
Jack.
got stuck. He got stung by a bee on his bottom lip the whole time. Like it's distracting. It's the only part of his design that I hate, but it's like so prominent at all times that I can't help but look at it.
Okay,
Yeah,
maybe I'm
like,
more used to like that kind of art style, but I think it's
theoretically
fine.
good design.
Like it's just a very
I don't
shoujo
know,
art
man.
style. Like it's very much part of that genre.
But I've seen
I don't know.
there are
I've seen other
shoujo anime
shoujos
that I really like the visuals of. Ore Monogatari, God, I really need to rewatch it. It's pure joy in every single scene. It's amazing, and I also love how that show looks. So it's
And
clearly
that guy
not
has
a
comically
problem.
large bulbous lips.
Yeah, and with that guy, with fucking Takeo Goda, I'm pretty sure is his name. In that show, you know, it actually worked with his design. I liked him. I liked his design too.
Let me think of all the shoujos that I've seen.
How did
maybe I'm just-
Takeo look less ugly than the main guy of this show? He's supposed to be a little ugly and big and huge and mannish in that show.
Maybe I'm
but
just
with
used
this
to the
one,
art
he's like-
style. It doesn't offend me at all. Like I've seen enough
the
stuff
shoujos that I've
similar to
seen-
this that it's like it's nothing exceptional, but it's also not terrible if like you read or watch a lot of shoujo.
I think of the shoujos that I've seen. I haven't seen too many of them. Let me think. Wotakoi, but that has a really good art style that I like way
Okay,
more
don't
than
compare
this.
Wotakoi to this.
What else? Oron, that has a beautiful art style. I'm trying to think of like straight up shoujo. I haven't finished it, but Kimi ni Totake, I really like that one.
I think that you see this art style more in shoujo manga, especially
Yeah,
more recent ones in the last couple
I
years.
need to look at the manga design, see if they
Like-
if this was a thing that Aijadu put in, or if it was always like this.
Like I have no clue if what the manga looks like. I've no sense of reference, but it's very similar to shoujo in the last couple years that I've read. So the art style just didn't really bug me. I will say it's
Well,
nice
even
having a.
It looks more tolerable in the manga. Like there is shoujo lip, but I feel like maybe it's because of the more still nature of, or maybe it's because there's less detail.
Maybe it's the black and
I don't
white.
know,
Who knows?
Yeah, actually, yeah, the black and white's probably what's doing it. Whereas like the color in the anime brings more attention to it, because I'm pretty sure it's a different color. Like they color the lips a slightly different hue than the skin.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just happy that we're not having like a high school romance here. Like having a college romance.
Oh yeah,
is refreshing.
I'm on my knees
in,
thanking God that it's in
anime.
college.
To be fair, I do
Plenty
want
common in manga,
more
but, like,
anime about
More anime like this,
college
please.
students. Yeah, like anything but high school.
I will say though, in contrast, Yuki looks cute at hell.
I love Yuki's design. She's adorable. Love everything about her. She's really the star of the show in this episode, which is once again where my issue with it comes in that I don't like the main guy at all. It's not that I dislike him, he hasn't made me hate him. He's just kind of not much there. Because his main gimmick seems to be that he's this deadpan sort of dude, but he's also very touchy-feely, but in sort of an innocent way, where it's not like he's not like a personal space invader, but more like, oh, he put his hand on my face. Ooh, that's cute. But I don't know, it didn't do
So
much
yeah, he is
for
a
me.
personal space invader.
But it's like I feel like I'd like
He
that
just gets away with
if
it because he's hot.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like it should be that frame is seared into my mind of him placing his whole ass hand on the main girl's face to where it covers up one of her eyes. It's cute, and I popped off a little inside. But at the same time, I was like, I feel like this would be perfect if it were an episode, maybe 2 or 3, when we've seen them together more. But to me, I'm just seeing these two people who don't even really know each other, and this guy's just already giving her head pats and putting his entire hand on her face. And I'm like, but why? You just met. You don't know each other.
I mean, he's already like dropping the smoothest one-liners by the end of the episode, where he's just like, through text, yeah, I've been all over the world. Let me into your world, Yuki. And she's fucking smitten, dude.
That one-liner. I actually burst out laughing when I heard it. But I don't even think it's like a bad part of the episode. I think it's the endearing sort of...
I thought it was cute.
Yeah, I think it's the endearing sort of burst out laughing funny. Especially because she's so overwhelmingly happy with it.
Yeah, her reaction at the end was adorable.
I think your disconnect with this, Crunchy, is that this is maybe you're not too big into shoujo, because this is a common trope within shoujo anime where the guy is like on the surface he's like stoic, big, strong, silent type, but in actuality he's kind of just an autist who is just kind of socially awkward. So that way it's easier for the girl, and hence the female reader, to be like, oh, I can, project a, like, what I, find most appealing about him, and, my version of my dream guy onto him, and then imagine that he's, coming on to me in that way.
You know,
Or
I
I
feel
can
like
either,
that
put
might
myself in that
actually
position.
be part of it because like my favorite shoujo is the one where the joke is that the main guy isn't the cool the cool looking deadpan guy. He is the side character and the main character's best friend, and then the main character can be this like super, charming, out there, energetic dude who's way too tall to be 14.
It's
But
it's
then
it's been a while since I've seen your Wotakoi video, but I remember you having a problem with Hirotaka for not emoting a lot.
Well, that was back when I hated the deadpan trope in general. I've warmed up to it a whole lot since then. I like a fair few deadpan characters now. Literally, one of my favorite protagonists is E from Zadagoto, and that's his whole shtick, that he doesn't display or even really feel emotions all that much. But I don't know, it's just like, to me, a lot of these shoujo guys, granted, I'm not overly familiar with the genre, so I can't pretend to be super in the know about this. But from what I've seen of some of these first episodes and seasonals, the dudes kind of bleed together in my head a lot, where they just sort of had the same personality. And in that case, I guess he's one of the better ones. He's trilingual and already trying to learn sign language. That's cute. I popped off when he was like practicing sign language at the barber. I was like, oh my god, because they were setting it up so clearly, and you could see it coming. But the fact that I knew it was coming made it more exciting when I saw him actually practicing it. So I'm not upset that I could see it coming per se. But yeah, I guess I just don't
So what
see
you're
him
saying
as
is, Crunch, is that you just hate happy couples.
Yeah, you just
Yes,
don't like seeing
that
happiness
is
on screen.
That is true. I hate happiness. I hate love. I hate people smiling. I just hate everything and the world, and I like death and despair. I say, being the Ore Monogatari fan, which has like such a sweet couple in it, pretends that I don't like that show for a second.
I don't know. I think this is one of the better shoujo shows that we've gotten in the last couple of years. Like, it's just
That is actually
I
true.
agree.
Well,
it's cute.
Even
it's
I'll
well
agree
done.
with that.
Like, production value, I like, outside of your guys' problem with the just style in general, I think that we can agree that the production value otherwise is phenomenal. Like, they did a great job.
It kind of reminded me of something Studio Shaft might make.
Like, especially with
with
the
its
shifts
direction.
to the like chibi-er art style sometimes to make the characters more
Yeah.
expressive, really worked in their
I didn't
favor.
really get Shaft vibes from this. I don't know where you got that from. It felt like kind of a typical anime. In the best possible way. I'm not like trying to put it down or anything. It didn't feel Shaft-esque, though, is what I'm getting at. It still has good production values, and I think overall good directing. Although Neon, I actually want to see if we're in agreement on this aspect of the show. What do you think about the main girl monologuing these sort of artsy things like, is love like the snow? Will it fall and dye the world in its colors?
It's flowery, but I feel like that just kind of comes with the genre. Like, is it a little cheesy? Yeah, but it's this girl, falling in love. It's sweet. It's not like she doesn't go on this like overtly long tirade. It's not like a Sangatsu tier 3-minute
well, fuck
inner
you for
monologue
that.
about the nature of what it means to exist, bro, and to go about your life in this way. And I can,
Sengatsu was
as
not
a
like that.
narrative,
You're
as a
hallucinating
narrative,
that, but I'll be quiet.
as a metatextual narrative crutch, I can accept this more than when it happens in a show like Sangatsu, because there's an in-universe reason why we hear her monologue more often, because she's fucking deaf. She doesn't really speak much, because if she tried to, she would slur her words a lot, and she doesn't, and would sound very incomprehensible.
Well, see, I was fine enough with the monologue at the beginning. Granted, the thing where she said, "Oh, will it dye the world in its color like snow?" There was the pedantic part of my brain that's like, "Well, white is a shade, not a color." if everything was white, it'd be considered, to be drab and dreary. This is the wrong metaphor. But okay, fine, whatever. I'm just being an asshole at that point. What really got to me is, first of all, she's like thinking about the main guy, right? He's talking to these foreigners, and she's just thinking to herself, he's had this entirely different life from me. He's had all these experiences, and it's like trying to be more emotionally resonant than I think it ended up being. Because when I watched that monologue, I was like, well, no shit, Sherlock. Yeah, that's every person. Every person is informed by their experiences, and every person has had an entirely different set of experiences. Even people within the same family have entirely different sets of experiences and entirely different worldviews.
I think she was more commenting on how he looked very worldly and like, he looks like he gets around a lot.
See, I got that implication, but at the same time, that wasn't the way to communicate it. I guess it's more so the way it was communicated that was so no shit that's obvious that I was just.
I think it's more of
why
a
am I sitting
way
through
to
this monologue?
I think it's more of a way to distinguish him from like her normal circle. Like he is kind of related because like acquaintances of acquaintances, right? But he is very different from the people that she normally interacts with at her college because he is so well traveled. He is very different, and it's trying to show that there is a world of difference between the two.
I feel like there was just a better way to communicate it than that monologue. But there's also another moment even that got on my nerves a little bit, where she texts him, "Do you think the world is a big place?" Which is, sort of a follow-up on the whole he's very worldly. But I was just like, what a nothing question. That's so subjective.
She's deaf,
so
dude.
nothing.
Her world is like so much different than your average fuck. Because she can't like normally do things that a normal person with normal hearing can.
I don't know. It feels like there were better ways to communicate that than "do you think the world is a big place?" That's entirely subjective. Everyone will have a different view on that. It's literally the most nothing.
Exactly, that's why she asked
question.
him!
I just really don't, like, if this, I don't want this show to go super hard into these sort of just weird
So what you're saying, Crunchy, is that you don't want the show to get pretentious.
I guess you could say that, but at the same time, it's like I don't like, or rather, I don't mind it going into a deeper direction or like hitting at deeper themes, because I like that about shows, right? If it went in that direction of going, really deep with stuff like Sengoku no Lion, fuck you, Neon. If it were as good as that, if it were to hit on those themes, well, not those exact same themes as Sengoku, obviously, but like hit on things in a deeper way, that would be wonderful to me. I'd love that. But I don't necessarily want it to just be these monologues that mostly just serve as window dressing to a show that is just a basic shoujo. But at the same time, hey, we're hitting at something deeper, guys. This is more resonant. Because every time these sort of monologues happen, the directing changes with them to portray them as more resonant, when I don't think they are, honestly.
The monologues tied together pretty nicely, in my opinion. Like the opening one very much was talking about how closed her world was, which then feeds into the metaphors about the world being a big place later on. There's a clear, like, metaphorical reason for why this is being used, and how her deafness is affecting her worldview. I think it works for what the show is trying to do with it.
I mean, if it goes into the closedness of her world in future episodes, I haven't seen anything past the first episode, but like seeing that would be cool. Like, I think that's an interesting place to take the story. I'm just not sure if these monologues are the ways I would want them communicated and explored. Is my issue.
The most exciting thing I'm looking forward to in this show, aside from just seeing these two lovebirds getting together, is the deaf girl teaching the dude sign language, because the dude is established to be Is there a word? I feel like linguist is the wrong word.
Trilingual,
like there's
dude. I don't know.
No, no. Well, no. Well, he is trilingual, but I'm sure I know there's a word for like someone who likes to study language, like the concept of language.
Linguist.
I think is it linguist?
Google.
Maybe, I don't know. We'll say linguist and just assume that's what I mean.
Language person.
Even if it's wrong.
It is linguist.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So yeah, he speaks Japanese natively, but he also knows German and English because he likes to travel a lot. And I love how he like sort of gets like a sense of pride and satisfaction of it. Yeah, praise me for bringing up all the different languages that he's also studying. Like, oh, I also know a little Chinese, and I'm also studying Spanish. And the applause of the girls like fills him with a like self satisfaction. That's funny. But I'm looking forward to him, using his relationship with Yuki to learn a new language, sign language. That way he can communicate with her, and thus bring them closer together. I feel like that's a nice little narrative thematic through line.
I do. That's probably the element of the show that I'm most excited for. And also just the fact that they're pretty much together after episode 1. And for once, it isn't like a harem anime where you're like, oh, they're flirting with each other so aggressively, but I know they won't get together for another 3 seasons. With this, it's like, yeah, they'll probably be like officially.
I'm not 100% sure if they're together, but they're definitely aware that they're
aware of it. Like the most they could delay it to is like episode 2 or
3. You cannot platonically tell someone, "Let me in your world."
Yeah, so that I am excited for. I wish more anime would do that. It's based. And yeah, I mean, I did put it on paused. It's not necessarily on my drop list. I could watch another episode of this just to see how it shakes out. But at the same time, I'm a bit more iffy on it than most people are.
Yeah, I think that's just because you hate happiness and you will never find
you're
love.
right. I do
and you
hate happiness.
bitter about it.
God, yeah, the only good shows are the ones where you just feel nothing but depression all the time. That's why I like Sengoku.
Yeah, like gushing over magical girls.
Or Chain Soldier.
Yeah, classic. Yeah, you're right. I love Chain Soldier. It made me feel so miserable watching how they
It's a really shitty love story.
All right, well, I think we've expended all upon a sign of affection, so now it's time to dive into that middle ground between, maybe it's good, maybe it's not. What'd y'all think of The Witch and the Beast?
This one is interesting because the manga on AniList actually has a pretty high score, but the anime does not.
This, to me, felt like a butchering of adaptation again. Like, it had very similar problems to Chain Soldier, but not nearly as bad, in my opinion. Like, a lot of the times, the action was hard to follow because the directing was just nonsense. It did this thing where the action was broken into very close-up shots and just really odd angles, and it just made it hard to follow. And then, like, the CGI elements stood out like a sore thumb.
See, I didn't necessarily have a problem with the directing, so I guess I'll lay some groundwork before I go hard on my main issue with the show that comes into play later, right? So the idea is that there's this girl and this dude, and they're hunting witches, right? They hate those witches. They're as bad as demons in Freerun world, where they've convinced the people...
Total witch death.
Yeah, total witch death. Where they've convinced the people, or rather specifically this city, hey yo, I'm not bad, you can trust me, but actually they're very bad and racism is good, so long as it's against witches, specifically. They're nothing but evil, nothing but trouble. Although, unlike in Freerun, there is actually evidence in this show that some witches have been good in the past. The witch of this episode, her, I think, grandmother was the one who saved the town from a fire, but they got blamed for the fire because, witches are just that hated. And so, unlike in Frieren, there is some chance at them being redeemed sometimes, but probably not with our main characters anytime soon, because the main girl is out for all the witches because she's been cursed by one. And that's all fine and dandy. I love the main girl's personality. She's just super aggressive towards witches and wants to fight them now. At one point, breaks like a knife with her teeth out of sheer excitement at being able to take on a witch. So that was pretty based. I liked her. The guy, not as much, but he's still pretty cool looking. I could see him getting interesting sometime soon.
Oh, no, I found the guy
issue...
way more interesting. The girl was so one note throughout the episode, and the guy had flavors of like personality in there. Where
I think they're both similarly one note ish. Where the main dude is kind of like aloof and mysterious. And the girl is uber aggressive.
But like the main dude also was sarcastic.
Boring, but...
there was two aspects to him. He was aloof and sarcastic sometimes.
Well, see, the main girl was one note in a way that I liked, and that I could see. I mean, obviously, if she's like that for the entire show, okay, well, that gets boring real quick. But for this episode, yeah, I'm down for that. I just like seeing her get all aggressive and be all raring up to go. Not the best main character in a first episode, but definitely not the worst. I liked them well and fine enough, and was down to see more of them. The issue with this specific episode is, one of them specifically, it gets really edgy out of nowhere, and I'm not sure if I like how it went, because the witch has no chill. Go ahead.
I don't know if it's out of nowhere knowing the
I was
style.
Gonna say,
well, not out of nowhere.
I could tell it was gonna get that edgy just by looking at the designs of the main dude and the girl.
Like there's a like giant land shark
the girl
very
is
early.
Spouting obscenities like every time she's on screen.
There's a giant like man-eating land shark very early. It's getting like
it died
very out there
immediately. Dino shark
Yeah, so all these people's hands and feet get cut off. They get regenerated later. I forget if they actually explains that or not. I don't remember picking up on a reason.
I think he just vaguely magicked them back.
Yeah, but, it's just a bunch of naked women with no hands or feet. And I was like, oh, that's yucky.
The ideal woman.
But yeah, and then you see a bunch of, like, the city's been set ablaze and people are lighting on fire. That was the other thing where I was like, okay, maybe I didn't need to see that expressly. I don't know. It's probably just a really pedantic and personal complaint, because at the end of the day, it doesn't really affect the writing. But at the same time, I'm not sure if I wanted to see that from this show. But I guess the bigger thing is, I just don't know what the X factor is. Because I get what it's about and what we're supposed to be.
The X factor is that
narrative.
the girl kisses witches on the mouth in order to turn into a Tokyo Ghoul hulking monster.
Yeah, but like beyond that. Well, by the way, when I first saw that, I was
no
confused as hell.
That. The
yeah,
show
I was so
to...
confused.
I was like, damn, I could be watching The Curse of Vanitas right now.
I was watching that scene, yeah, I was just like, what the fuck even happens? They do eventually explain that it's like her unrestrained form. I guess the curse is holding her back, and that's how she enters her unrestrained form, and then the curse is what's keeping her in her natural body, or, keeping her from being able to turn into that, and so she temporarily gets rid of the curse in order to turn into it. It's all not really explained as well as it could have been, or as soon as it could have been. It feels very, and then this happened in the moment.
I don't know. I'm not going to harp on it too much for that, because it's the first episode. Like, I think the writing problems go even further down. Like, the fact that we're flashbacking in the first episode to something that happened in the last, 3 minutes. There's that fight with the shark, and then they go to the mansion where the witch lives, and we flash back to the fight with the shark immediately during a monologue. I'm like, what is going on here? Like, you gotta have other shots that we can use instead of just more of the same footage, right? There's some glaring, like, what are you guys doing kind of moments here.
You know, what I'm realizing with this show is that I think we all have pretty much separate small complaints about it, but have all somehow come to the same conclusion about the show, which is that it could be good, but probably isn't something we're gonna spend time on.
I feel like just in the vacuum of this season, this show is okay, but I could name like 5 other shows that I'd rather continue watching. If those 5 other shows didn't exist and this is like the best of the best the season had to offer, I would say A, damn, this season blows ass, and B, like I guess I could like watch it. It's not bad, but even like you take it in the context of like anime that has come out like it, I would rather continue watching The Curse of Vanitas, because that one had better animation, that one had better characters with more personality, a cooler setting.
Oh yeah, Case Study of Vanitas is still on my plan to watch. I need to watch it as soon as possible. So now that I think about it, yeah, like this is just kind of, well, maybe this is a reductive comparison, but does just
might
kind
also
of
just
seem
be
like you should watch Vanitas instead.
It might also just be the anime butchering the source material's story. Like, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, the manga is, according to its score, really good, but obviously I have not read it.
Yeah. I'll probably read the manga just because, like, I see a decent enough premise somewhere buried in the shit execution that, like, I'll probably give it a shot, but I'm not continuing with the anime. There's better stuff this season, and that is saying a lot with how kind of meh the quality has been all around.
Yeah, so unless you've got something to say, Neon, I think I'm pretty much done with this show.
Yeah, pretty much same.
All right, but okay, so we weren't exactly sold on that show, but are we sold on the masterpiece, Tales of Wedding Rings? I dropped this so quickly.
It's the last in our trilogy of uncensored fan service shows. This season. I did not realize there were 3 of them. I thought it was only Chain Soldier and Gushing Over Magical Girls.
I didn't get to any of the fan service because I dropped it so quickly, because the show looks hideous.
You didn't miss much. It was just like not, I think, a minute total screen time of boob.
I'm gonna be honest,
God.
I watched this very early into like getting through the list of shows, and it blended so much into like the general kind of shit isekai background that I'm having like a hard time remembering the plot outside of like the couple notes I took. It's just
I don't
very
blame you.
average.
It's romance isekai that on paper it sounds like it could work, but then the opening gives away that's just gonna be a shitty harem.
Yeah, that's
until,
the thing.
So much for the
because
idea of a wedding.
It starts off being like, oh, there's this girl who, you know, she teleported into our world, and she's like, hey, yo, don't tell the FBI about this, and I'll, like, be your friend. First of all, that scene would have been better if we had, like, some context into, like, who this guy's friends were at the time, if he had any, if he's a loner. It's, I guess, kind of just assumed that he's a loner, because, you know, look at his design, it's nothing, so he must be just a generic loner main character. You know, well, what else could be the explanation? Then they just grow up together, and he starts to get feelings for her, starts to see her sexually, and it's like, okay, this could be like some kind of developing romance. We skipped all of them, you know, growing to become friends. It feels like we missed all the interesting parts, but you know what? Fine, you can start a show from this point. It's not impossible to make it good, except for the fact that the visuals are awful. But then,
It has the
the
airbrush
OP
look again.
gives it away. The OP shows him surrounded by, I need to get out the screenshot and count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other women, all on the same heart-shaped pillow on a pink bed, and they're all scantily
all in their
clad.
underwear.
Yeah. And it's like,
all wearing their own wedding ring.
so we're going in this direction, huh? Polygamy,
Yeah,
the
so
anime.
as soon as I saw that, I mentally checked myself out of any notion of enjoying their relationship whatsoever, because I know it's gonna get either tested by all of these home wreckers, or, and this is gonna be the more obvious pick, which is gonna happen. He's just gonna marry all of them. He's just gonna have 5 wives.
Yeah, it's just, it's bad.
The nicest thing I can say about it is that they throw the term ring king around for the guy, because he wears the wedding rings and he gets the power to slay the demons from them. So they dub him the Ring King, and I'd be like, damn, that would make for like a banger ass shonen title. And that is the only thing that'll probably stick with me from the show.
Yeah, it's such a generic power fantasy harem isekai thing that, like, there's so many better executions on basically the same premise that are already out there, that it's like, why would you watch this when you could just watch something else within this like same genre of isekai?
Same tale as pretty much every isekai that isn't like one of the 5 good ones. Speaking of the 5 good isekai, is the wrong way to use healing magic one of them? I'm genuinely asking because I didn't watch it.
This is
No.
this is on the better side, but it's not good.
Although the community would have you think otherwise, because the score for this show is one of the highest I've seen on the Mal charts.
Yeah, my
Wait,
first
So what is it? Quote it right now, because I need to hear it to get pissed mad.
7.62.
7.60. All right. Explain to me
For-
why this score is the case, because there's another show that deserves that score later on this list that doesn't have it, and I am mad.
it's like just a okay execution on a isekai.
Kai, go ahead.
Like it doesn't do anything offensively bad in its isekai premise, and that's probably why it has the score it does. Like the basic premise is that the basic premise is that
then the main character dude has lines like, "Oh man, all this rain. If only I could use magic to stop this rain." I'm like, why the fuck would you say that, you weirdo? You live in the normal world.
Yeah.
You don't know magic exists yet.
I mean, the basic premise is that student council president and vice president, and then the main character, the loner dude, gets transported to a magical world where they are the heroes, and they get tested with a magic ball to see what kind of magic they're going to be able to use. And the main character can use healing magic. And so he gets dragged to the rescue corps, something like that, to get trained by the very crazy leader of it in the ways of healing magic. And it's looking like it's going to be a kind of comedy take on the tropes of that kind of isekai story.
So it's a comedic take. But is it funny? Is the real question.
No?
Not really. I didn't laugh.
So there you go. Why does it have a 7.6?
The writing is dog shit. Like there's a line when the dude, the main character guy, is met up with the student council, the president and the vice president, and they're saying, "Hey, it must be fate that we met at the end of the school day here in the rain. Let's here, you can borrow our umbrella. Let's walk home together." And then the main dude inner monologues to himself, "Did I just hit the meeting and befriending the popular kids phase?" And I'm just like, Die.
Yeah, it's not good writing.
Die yourself right now.
It's not good writing, but it's good writing for isekai standards. That's the problem.
No, it's not.
No,
No, it's
isekai
fucking not.
standards are
Isekai
like,
standards
can you
are
even call
low.
them standards?
Like,
Standards
This is
imply
the
that you have to
same
hit
as
a
all
bar.
other isekai standards. It is not clearing a bar, it is the bar.
I think
And the
compared
bar is in hell.
I think compared to all the other isekai this season, besides The Weakest Tamer, this is probably in the top half, which is not saying
Top
a lot.
half of isekai. Yeah. It's
The standards this
has a
season
Well,
are
with
the number
lower
of
than
isekai
normal.
out there in the world, especially in the last few years, that's probably like technically true. It just half of like a 4 would be a 2, so I guess you can call this like a 2.2 out of 10 quality.
I'm not saying that this is good, by the way. I'm just saying that, like, compared to the other isekai out there, you could see why this one is the highest scoring on Mal right now.
No,
I don't
can't.
think
I
it
genuinely
should be.
can't.
I do not think it should be, but you could see why compared to something like, oh, what was that very shit one that was just in a field in a bus from the first block? Instant death ability. Like, compared to something like that, yeah, no, this is a step up.
I mean, I guess I could. I would rather be stabbed in the chest with a knife once than twice, but I prefer not to get stabbed in the chest with a knife at all. Thanks.
Yeah,
Just
no,
watch a
I
vending
don't
machine
think this is a
isekai.
good show. I think this is like a 4 tops, probably closer to a 3 or 2.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like just every other isekai.
The
I didn't watch it.
the
but
most
it sounds
interesting
like it.
thing about it is that the hook is that the main guy is getting taken by this eccentric healing lady of the rescue team that even the king is afraid of, and just like, oh dude, like, no, you can't get involved with her, your life will never be the same. I'm trying my hardest to save you from her. And they try to like send him away, but she like just fucking chases after him. There's that. Not really funny. They try to make it funny, but I didn't find it very funny.
There's some attempts at comedy,
and
but like
then-
it's ripping off other things. Like there's this point where
Yeah, and
at the very beginning where it's very much doing a Kaguya-sama bit with how they introduce the student council president and vice president.
Yeah, they straight up rip
It
off
is-
the opening of Love Is War, by the way.
Yeah. But it's like a poor execution, so like it doesn't really do much for it.
Yeah, and then the only other somewhat interesting thing about it is that the student council president, the main female character, she puts on airs, when she's at school, and is like reveals to the characters that, like, you know what, I actually don't even know what I want to do with my life after high school. I'm kind of indecisive about what I want to do, because do I want to pursue a life of mundane mediocrity? But then when she gets transported to the magic world, she's like instantly on board when she thinks about all the different like cool possibilities. Like, oh man, demon lords, magic, saving the world. Fuck yeah.
She's also very clearly
like
a
that.
weeb because she immediately like understands the situation. Like
Yeah, like that was the closest thing I found to any type of enjoyment or endearment to this show, but it doesn't really matter because she's not even the main character, and so the focus is not going to be on her much anyway.
I don't know. I got a chuckle out of how off-model the main character was every other shot. Like the whoever coordinated the art for this, like, did a poor job because how the characters look shot to shot is insanely inconsistent. And it's just this weird thing that once you notice, it just gets funnier every time. So that's the comedy enjoyment that you can get out of the show. That it's kind of bad in its production value.
Yeah, sounds like just another isekai. But let me tell you, folks, Villainess level 99, I may be the hidden boss, but I'm not the demon lord. That's not just another isekai. That's another show I didn't watch, so take it away.
It's another isekai.
Okay, well, there we
generic
go.
otome RPG anime. Literally watched it for 5 minutes and dropped it because it was indistinguishable from all of the other generic otome RPG anime.
Sounds like it
Okay,
wasn't missing
I
much.
will just say that, like, the first half, no, probably 2/3 of the first episode is like kind of going for that, where it like they go to great lengths to just try to set this up as another standard otome isekai, going as far as making a fake opening for it. And then they switch to the Villainess's perspective. Doesn't really work, mostly because like the title exists, and you see that it's not that.
It also doesn't work because they made it too generic.
It's also just not a good execution on any of it, where you just kind of get bored in the first part.
Hey, if they were trying to trick me, that worked. I thought it was a generic, boring milk toast white bread piece of shit otome RPG. So if that's what they were trying to make me think at first, they succeeded.
Yeah, so
I dropped it 5 minutes in because of it. So I guess who's laughing in the end?
Wait, so what's the twist? I forgot the title already. Let's see.
The twist in the first episode is that the character that they set up as the main character is the main character of the game that the actual main character gets transported into. It's just that the main character of this story got transported into the body of the Villainess. And
that was a twist. I read the title and went, yeah, okay, it's not another Villainess.
Yeah, that's the twist. That's the twist.
I thought there was something more.
That's the twist. It's a shitty execution because the title exists.
I genuinely,
the show's
I was
generic.
like, wait.
I've already run out of things to say about it.
It's not good.
I can't get over the fact that that's supposed to be the twist, because I knew that going in just reading the title.
Yeah, that's the twist, though. Like, I appreciate that they tried to do something creative here. There was some effort made. Like, having that be the twist is shit, but it's at least creative shit.
It's like if Attack on Titan Season 1 was called Attack on Titan, The Death of Aaron's Mother.
Yeah. It's not good, but it's interesting in how bad it is.
Rise of the Titan Shifter.
So, I'll give them credit for that.
Rise of the Titan Shifter. Oh god. Okay.
Yeah, well, this one is a step above. Also something I'm not going to continue watching because it's also pretty generic, but at least has somewhat of an original idea in its body. With Seventh Time Loop, the Villainess enjoys a carefree life, married to her worst enemy.
Seventh Loop. Okay.
Or my very first note for this show is Kira Queen, Bite Zadusto, breakdown.
So my issue with this, I dropped this really quickly. And the reason why is because the entire opening scene is dedicated to this dude who's out there to kill the main character, right? She's messed up once again. It's one of those shows where she messes up, she dies, she has a time loop. Funnily enough, French Isekai already did this. I'm calling it French Isekai because I don't actually know the title. But with this one, the other twist is that this is her 7th time doing it. And on the one hand, this does... God, like, I dropped it really early and at a point where I couldn't tell if it was going to be good or bad. But the reason why I dropped it that early is because I knew in my heart of hearts that it was probably going to be bad. Because my prediction, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this and, you know, if I should give it another shot. I don't think I should because the first scene was boring as hell. But my guess is, if I had to, you know, guess as to what this show will be, the entire show would just be about it being her 7th time doing this loop. That's going to be the extent of the gimmick. Then she's going to just have this boring villainous adventure to not do the things that she did beforehand. And maybe, as, you know, the spice to the show that will make it the gimmick to end all gimmicks that will make it actually good, she will occasionally reference things she learned in one of her prior 6 loops, which makes me feel like I should just be watching Steins Gate or ReZero instead.
So
you're pretty close on the money with that second point.
Yeah, I gave this 2 episodes because there was some chatter right before we started recording this in the server about how someone likes this. I don't remember who, But so like right before this episode, I gave the second episode a shot because I'm like, first episode not really impressing me. It's like fine if painfully generic. The second episode starts to introduce themes, not well. It's like one of the themes that it starts introducing is like life has infinite possibilities, but it literally tells you that like in dialogue. So it's like it's a shit way of explaining it or getting that across, but it's
Is
a way
it
of getting
like
it across. So at
butterfly
least,
effect, but dumb.
not really.
Not really. Then
It's
what's
like-
the point of pointing out that there's infinite possibilities?
It's like life isn't deterministic kind of deal.
Okay, so basically just stating that outright so that we can know she can escape
yeah.
her fate.
It's a
So
theme.
basically what was happening
it's
in
a shit
Steins
way of
Gate,
communicating it.
but like without the interesting parts.
Yeah. And
so
then
what you're saying is I should just rewatch Steins Gate. I
don't
know
know.
I'm bringing.
I
I know
think
Steins Gate
a
has
part
so many
where-
differences, but if I'm just thinking about the time loop element, it's like you're never gonna beat that though. So why should I watch it?
like
I think a problem with this show is that, and this is one of the ways that shows it's kind of and it's not as interesting as it thinks it is. They don't even bother to show us how each one of her different lives come to an end. Like she'll just say, "Oh, X event happened," and then we don't see X event, and then the camera cuts to black and says, "And that's how that life ended." She'll tell us like what all the different lives she ended up taking. Like at one point she became a doctor. At one point she became like a traveling merchant. I think one point she became a pirate. But then they just like they all end. The most recent one that we see at the start of the show is that she was some kind of like swordsman or guard of the castle that gets killed by the emperor dude. And so now her new goal in this one is to, just do her own thing, figure out a new thing to do. And this time, this is the only interesting part, which could be a cool idea in a better show, where the Emperor dude, who is not quite as evil as he was at the start of the show in this timeline, he is like taking notice of all the actions of the villainous character, who is like, he's like, you seem oddly sure of yourself, almost like you've like done this kind of thing before. And he's like, he doesn't know that it's a time loop per se, but he's like, he knows something's up with her, so he's taken an interest in her, and at the end of the episode proposes to her to become her husband.
Yeah, I will say in the second episode, it kind of continues down that route where she does bring out like the knowledge that she learned in her past lives quite often. Like it's not a one-off in an episode. It's like multiple times in an episode, you'll see what she learned in her past lives get used in her current life, and it explains how that came about in her past life. And it's a kind of exploring, hey, this is like what makes her her. Like these past lives changed her.
I'm just not sure how down I am to have this time loop where it's like all the interesting parts where she like didn't know what was going on, and where we got to see that push and pull, and where maybe she died early. We just don't get to see any of it. I'm not sure if I'm necessarily down for that. Because although you could argue, oh, well, it'd be boring seeing her die 7 times. Well, okay. But what's fun is seeing a character with no idea what they're doing in a this sort of fish out of water situation where maybe at first they don't even know.
got so popular.
It's the same. It's literally what I'm saying by referencing other time loop shows where it's like, I just can't imagine it being that interesting, because it's all. I'm 90% sure that she's in the winning loop, that she's going to do everything right this time.
Of course she's in the winning loop. Why else would they specifically
they
point out
call it,
this one's the
oh,
7th?
I revived 7 times, so clearly she's only going to do it 7 times. This has to be the winning loop. But
I don't think like they
more
have the same core
interesting.
appeal at all, though. Like this is very much not like the time loop is a part
Boring
of
Otome slice
the
of
narrative
life?
style, but like it's not
Yeah,
part
it's-
of the story. It's like it's not part of the storytelling mechanism in the same way that it is in ReZero or Steins Gate.
So see,
I've no clue about the source material or whatnot, but I'm guessing we're not going to see another loop.
We're combining the otome isekai subgenre with the time loop isekai subgenre, where it's not your first time going through the isekai world. So it's it's an unholy crossbreeding of these subgenres. So maybe if we breed shit with poop, we'll make something that's not shit or poop.
well, see, I do want to acknowledge Kai's point, because I think the point that, well, maybe Steins Gate and ReZero are unfair comparisons does have validity on some level. Because you're right, they are trying to do different things. But that just leads me to my next point. Why have her loop 7 times? What does that add to the story if we're not going to do anything with it? If it's just going to be her saying, well, in my other 6 lives, this went wrong, and so I'll just do this time. It's like, well, okay, why 7 times, though? Why couldn't it have just been 1 time? Well, 1 time's already been done before, so clearly you need to make it 7 times, or else you're a ripoff. But making it 7 times, a completely different story at that point.
Oh no,
And it also just
7 times
feels
has
like-
also been done before. That's the biggest problem with the
Has
show.
it?
Like this
It's all-
premise is well worn out, especially on the manhwa side. Like it's very generic as it
Has
goes. Like
As much as all the shitty isekai blend together, I can't think of one where it's like specifically the 7th time.
I'm not saying like 7 times like exactly, but like multiple times reincarnated is kind of
Oh
a
yeah,
thing.
no, that's
Yeah,
not
I've
original
seen
at
that.
all.
Like this almost exact premise has been done a million times, especially in manhwa. I just don't think this one stands out all that well compared to everything else.
You're right, it doesn't. And that's
In fact,
why
it doesn't
I
stand out
dropped
so
it.
much that I'm looking back at the list that I wrote out myself in the Discord and realized that I accidentally jumped ahead to that one because I forgot that I didn't watch the 3 shows in between it.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Well, I guess I subconsciously did it because jumping from one villainous show to another villainous show seemed the most natural conclusion.
It's also weird that this was called like the villainess was like pointed out so much in this, because like when you actually like watch it, like it's not that big of a deal. Like she's not really a villainess. Like it's just not played up in the same way that it is in other stories where villainous is literally in the title.
Almost like we're using it as window dressing just to fit into a nice little box that people who are familiar maybe enjoy that box can pick it out from the box and be like, oh look, a new thing from the box.
Yeah.
This was just generic.
It's for people who like it when stories iterate on the same premise ever so slightly over and over again. So, in other words, people
Alright,
who
so
watch
now-
shows as if they were a time loop.
Alright, so now this is the part where y'all gotta pick up the slack for me, because I did not watch the next 3 shows on this list, sadly.
Ishura, The Unwanted Undead Adventurer, and Fluffy Paradise?
Yes.
Okay, well, I didn't watch one of them, so Kai is unfortunately going to have to solo Fluffy Paradise. But I did watch very little, very, very little of the other 2, so Kai's probably still gonna have to carry. I dropped both of them extremely early. Spoilers. Ishura, I'll tell you everything that I watched of this episode. So, there's this girl, and she is in this place. God, I barely even remember it because I dropped it so fast. But it's in this sort of fantasy cyborg place. They're, I think, dealing with, they're trying to kill the cyborgs with, fucking sword things. She eventually meets this girl. I was actually popping off a little at this point because it seemed like it was going to go, or at least it could go in a Yuri direction. There's this shot of them
Ooh.
looking at the sunset with one of the girls is leaning on the other, but then the one girl gets brutally ripped apart by a robot, after a very poorly animated landslide explosion sort of thing that I'm not actually sure what the source of was. After that happens, because the show doesn't look good at all, yeah, the cyborg rips her apart horrifyingly in the worst gore ever. And that was precisely the point where I dropped it, because it's like, okay,
All right, well,
I
now I
don't
need
mind.
to pull up this episode so
Yeah.
I can see that exact clip.
Yeah, because
That sounds
I don't
fucking hilarious.
Yeah, so I don't mind gore per se as a Made in Abyss fan, but Made in Abyss built up to it for like most of a season before it went hard on it. If you're showing this within the first, I think it was like the first 5 minutes of the episode, and it felt like a breeze to me because I was already on double speed. But like, if you're doing that so quickly into a show, like, why should I pay attention? Why should I even care? Like, I thought, oh, they're doing a Yuri. Maybe, just maybe, it could be okay and up my alley, and then she gets brutally torn apart limb from limb. And I'm just like, okay, well, now all I've learned is that the characters that I might have cared about for even a second, you know, if I even think about getting invested in anyone, they'll just fucking die. And I don't care about them. I'm just taught to be nihilistic about the show and think that nothing matters. And yeah, I dropped it after that.
Yeah, so I watched the entire episode because I honestly don't really like the very beginning got my hopes up. Like it's the setting's pretty cool. Like it's a kind of Middle Eastern style to the setting where it's a city that's in that style built on top of a labyrinth. Like that's a kind of cool idea. And the golems, or I think you were calling them cyborgs, are coming out of the labyrinth, and when that happens, they have to fight them back. And then, like, at the same time, you're getting some actually decent exposition in the very beginning, where, like, you see the dynamic between the two girls at the very beginning during a lecture that is giving some actually very interesting world building in the background, but you're focused on, like, the dynamic between the two girls because that's what's on the screen. And then it just gets worse. Like, the backgrounds themselves are fine, but the golems are all CGI, and they don't look good. They look really bad. And then the action scenes are actually not terrible. Like, they have some decent direction to them, but because you're watching, like, this, like, okay 2D animation interact with this giant 3D hulking monstrosity, it still doesn't look amazing. Like, I just don't see much of an appeal to this show. If it was done well, maybe, but it's not really. I might give this another episode, but that's mostly because the premise seems cool enough, even though, like, I've tried to avoid saying what the premise is, because, like, after an episode, no fucking clue. I don't know what's going on. Like,
Okay, I saw the part where she got her arms and legs violently ripped off, and, like, yeah, it does come out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah, it's so sudden, and I guess the main thing is it's just not narratively justified to me. It's like, I guess, you know, you're setting up the fact that, oh, these golems are bad.
I think it's just shock.
Yeah,
it's
it
definitely
is just
for shock.
And I don't
Like, at least
that.
with Made in Abyss, like, well, you may not, when you watch Made in Abyss, you might not expect, like, especially the child characters to go through, like, the most hideous body horror you've ever seen. But at least, like, you know, with, like, just by seeing what dwells in the abyss from episode 1, you get the idea of, oh, okay, it would make sense for that to happen, because obviously, look at the fucking nightmare creatures that roam this hell on Earth.
Yeah, but with this, it's just no build up. Like, if you're gonna do something big and violent, my rule is build up to it. Make me care.
Or just open with it. To at least
Don't
to
open
make
with
it
it.
make that a
Don't,
tone
no,
setter.
I think that's
Like,
lame.
Well, yeah, if it's a tone setter, then fine. Yeah, that's okay. All right, you played your hand.
If they put this at the end of the first episode, it probably would have been fine.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just put it later. Overall, bad episode. I did not finish. And I also did not finish the first episode of the Unwanted Undead Adventurer. This was I think it's a native isekai, where, and I know the phrase native isekai is kind of goofy on its face, because it's like, well, that's just fantasy. But it's so rooted in isekai tropes that I do not feel guilty about calling it that whatsoever, where he's basically, oh god, I'm like even now struggling to remember what it was about because I dropped it so quickly.
I can do it if you want, because I actually watched more than one episode of this.
Why? Why?
So, like, the premise is that it's this adventurer guy. He's like a veteran adventurer, but he's like extremely weak. He's like kind of seen no progress in his career in like the last decade. And he goes to this very well explored labyrinth and stumbles upon this new secret passageway that has opened up. And in his excitement, he rushes forward and gets eaten by a very cool looking dragon, actually. The design for the dragon is very unique.
It's actually, it looks almost, I'll need to pull it up again. But I
it's
thought
like
it was
an angelic
almost looks
looking
like
dragon.
Diet Made in Abyss to me. Which, to be fair, Diet Made in Abyss is still really good compared to what I was expecting from this show.
Yeah. And then he gets eaten by the dragon and dies, and then gets brought back as a skeleton. And oof, the CGI for the skeleton is rough.
That's literally why I dropped it. I saw that it was a CGI skeleton, and I was like, I can't watch this. Well, I think it was
Like,
teased at the beginning that he was going to be CGI, but I held out, not necessarily hope, but was just like, I can't drop it like very first thing. But then, you know, you watch him in action for a bit, and you're like, I can't watch a show where my main character is just CGI skeleton dude. I'd rather watch
like,
anything else.
the opening shots are CGI and they don't look great. And then when the main character is CGI for that, like after that inciting incident, it's like, oh god, this is not promising. He does not stay CGI for very long, actually. He
That's
ends up
shocking.
The whole premise is kind of a slime isekai thing where he evolves as he gets, or as he kills other monsters. So in the first episode, he evolves into a ghoul. And all of a sudden, he's no longer bad CGI. And after that, honestly, the show becomes one of the better looking ones this season. Like, after this CGI skeleton is gone, this is honestly a fine, not amazing, but decent looking animation wise isekai of the season. And that's why I watched more than one episode, because I'm like, oh, they turned my biggest glaring problem around. Let's see if they can do that to anything else. And no, the writing doesn't get much better, but it's not like the worst.
Well, see, my problem with
like,
it,
it's
even
fine.
bigger than the CGI, is that it's an isekai. And that it's about the weak guy getting the god powers to become the strong guy. I think that just is bad storytelling on its face. I think that's bad and doesn't make for a very exciting show, and I would rather watch anything else. And those are my thoughts on the show.
I don't know. Depending on the execution, it could be fine. The execution here is not amazing, but it's not bad either. Like, he's not God in episode 2. There's a build up
It's like
Not-
Slime Isekai,
it doesn't
but
take that long.
bad.
but there's a build up.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'd just rather watch Slime Isekai, or better yet, something that isn't an Isekai. No, just anything that isn't this show. So, yeah, not impressed. But, and you're gonna have to take the wheels for this one. Were you impressed by Fluffy Paradise?
So not really. This show, it like isn't amazing either. Like, it goes alongside the other isekai that we've talked about today, and it's just kind of generic and not very interesting. The most I'll say, like, the biggest points in its favor are that the art style itself is pretty all right. It animates pretty well. It's like a very cutesy style. And then the having the perspective be this little girl is interesting in and of itself. However, she's already extremely powerful at the end of episode 1. She has the blessing of a red dragon. She can communicate with the magical creatures of the world, and they listen to her and obey her commands. So, like, well, it's probably not going down the road of a power fantasy. It has all the trappings of one off the bat of episode 1. At the same time, they're already kind of like establishing a reverse harem around her, which is a little creepy when you're talking about a literal child.
Wait, wait, what? Wait, hold. You woke me up from my trance. Excuse me.
Yeah, so they.
How old are the people in this harem?
That's a good question. Early teens, probably.
How about this? Young enough or too old? Just on a scale of that.
Not adults, but too old.
Oof.
Like, look, she's like 4 or 5, maybe, and they're probably teens or tweens. Like, that's a little rough. At the same time, like, well, I said that the art style is okay.
By teens, do you mean like later teens or like
early? But the fact that they're setting up a reverse harem when she's 5. Like,
I mean, I
come
guess
on.
The best I can hope for is to assume that they're just incidentally all men, but at the same time, I don't want to give it the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, like, I might have said that the art style looks pretty good at the same time. There's like very hideous CGI all throughout this that kind of ruins that. It's just not amazing. It's fine if the premise sounds interesting to you, of a little girl going around with magical animal friends, but like, watch a Disney princess movie. I don't know.
Yeah, sounds kinda uninteresting. But it's okay, because now we can talk about shows that aren't Fluffy Paradise and that Neon can actually talk about. 'Tis time for quote-unquote Torture Princess.
This was the last show that I watched before we had to jump into the podcast, so I only made it halfway through the first episode.
We literally did the same thing, and I'm so sad because this one was actually, from what I saw, pretty good asterisk.
I think this is one of the better shows this season.
Oh, by far.
I'm in agreement.
The issue I have, and it's not really an issue with what I saw, but what I think it will be, which is that I wonder, how repetitive will this show get? Will it just be that same scene over and over again? Because it totally feels like it could go in that direction. Now, the OP actually kind of contradicts
That's what Kazu
this.
just said in the
Yeah,
Discord.
that's what Kazu said, and that's what I was thinking throughout what I saw of the first episode. But the OP, once again, contradicts that, where it's showing her fighting in, battle, and it's like, okay, well, maybe this could go somewhere. I'm definitely more interested in it than most of the other shows this season. The basic premise, which I knew going in, literally based off of the cover art, is that instead of being tortured into giving away information via, like, burning her at the stake alive or whatever, tearing off fingernails, all sorts of things you can think of. No, they just present her with a really good food and keep it, like, just barely out of arm's length. And she eventually cracks and gives them all the information they need. And then they're like, okay,
they torture her with food porn.
Yeah, and the animators, I mean, I know better because it's Japan, but I was watching this and be like, they had so much fun animating this. Hopefully they were not being overworked to death, because the main girl's expressions are so good. It felt straight out of Onimai in certain cuts, where with her in the spiral eyes talking about how, oh no, I don't want that food. I'm not gonna be tempted to
every
the dark
time
side.
the sword like reaches out, like looks over at her, just be like, princess. She's like, no, you don't understand. I mean, that's not what you think, sword. I swear, I'm not enticed in being enticed by the delicious golden smell of the bread and the butter melting on the bread.
What's interesting is that when I saw the sword,
And they're all beautiful animation cuts.
Oh yeah, beautiful.
Yeah,
When I
Pine
saw
Jam
the
did
sword,
a great job with this.
Oh yeah, this is Pine Jam. No wonder it actually looks good.
I don't know. Coming off Glepnir, I was like, maybe I'm having some reservations about this studio. No, like, this is really good.
Yeah, so yeah, when I saw the talking sword, I was starting to get flashbacks to that one sword isekai. And I was like, oh, is the entire show just going to be in his perspective? That'd be totally lame. And then he starts playing the dead like the straight man to her, and I thought that was fun. And I was like, yes, I'm glad the sword is here actually. And I never got past the opening gag, unfortunately, even though I totally wanted to watch more of it, because it was so much fun for those opening 12 minutes. I had a wide smile all over my face. It's just the issue of
fanning the smell over to her and just like and then like, telling her to be quiet as she breaks the bread apart, and she just to hear the crackling and the perfect tearing of the bread.
Dude, the cuts where
she
she's
has
like
all
flying up like an angel,
Yeah.
and then the
She
ball
might
and
as well
chain
at one
laser
point-
back down.
She might as well like being like the smell of the bread might as well have taken the form of a little like beckoning finger, and she like levitates off the ground, being led by her nose and floating over to it, only to be yanked back by the chains holding her against the wall.
Yeah, she has like this entire fucking dream of her flopping down onto this giant bit of bread, just a squish on that lad as she just dives into it. Once again, they had so much fun animating it. Except for the fact that it's in Japan, so they probably were dying, but that's okay. The point is, it looks good.
Yeah, I will say, like, I watched a little bit of episode 2 because I had some free time, and it doesn't just repeat it with the same joke with food. It does some other stuff. It repeats the same joke with like other forms of entertainment, that kind of thing. So it has some variety, but it does look like it's going to repeat the same general joke format throughout the episodes.
And that is, unfortunately, what I feared it would become. Maybe they'll break from it. That's what I can hope, and maybe not necessarily even have a story, but
I
to just
kind of think that
introduce
might be
more
the case,
characters.
just given the sheer number of characters we see in the opening, and that little gag where after they're done torturing her, the ogre dude and the demon girl, they do a little dance together. Like I think they're gonna become friends at some point.
Yeah, I feel
I
like
don't
this
know.
show
Like,
could go in a lot of different directions, and I'm hoping it goes in the good one.
yeah, even if like it repeats the same joke though, like just watching like how dynamic, how expressive the animation is, I probably will still watch it. Like it's probably still going to be a fun time.
I feel like doing the same joke could stay fun to me for a few episodes, though they'd have to eventually, thread in more characters, like Nian was saying with the OP, or, do a different joke, or have, maybe some sort of low stakes story, maybe make like episodic storylines, something like that to keep it fresh. But as of episode 1, specifically the first half, it's immaculate.
Yeah, and going from one banger show to another, Satoshi Mizukami got his redemption arc. He got his justice with Sengoku Youko.
Yeah, so as we all know, Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer, rest in peace, Mizukami's soul upon
Legendarily bad adaptation. Like biblically accurate angel levels of horrifying.
Yeah, but this really is the redemption arc, especially considering that it is 37 episodes long, I am fairly sure. According to
I
AniList,
think you're right.
It is way longer than the average anime, and god damn it, these motherfuckers, these absolute degens don't recognize it for the greatness that it is. This has an average score of 65% on AniList.
I knew it was this show that you were talking about.
I knew it. We were having a psychic link over there. Right, but before the show, we were alluding to a show that was rated way too lowly, and we didn't even have to mention it. Me and Neon just both intuited that we were talking about this show.
I looked at the mouse score, and it's below a 7, which is goddamn criminal because this is one of the best shows of the season.
Literally, like, there are isekai with higher scores than this, and that's just insane. How is it not
when
at
this show
least
has
a
better
7.5?
characters, better writing, better art, better animation?
I was immediately sold on all 3 characters over the course of this episode because they're all fun and all leave their own distinct mark, right? So I've got the characters page up so I can just list off their names. First of all, we got our main character, Shinsuke. He's essentially, right, so at first he seems like sort of a goofball coward, someone who isn't really fit to fight, but what makes him endearing is that he's got the drive, man. Like, he eventually literally kills a man within the course of this episode by swinging his sword really hard at his skull, splitting his helmet in half. And it's like, up to that point, you had no idea he had that much strength and passion within him. But he really wants to become an adventurer and do all this stuff, but he's just a bit of a scaredy cat. Got to work on his nerves, got to work on, just beefing up, training, getting better with the blade, becoming a badass. And because of how hard it sells that sort of goofball, cowardly side of him, it also makes you really want to see him improve over time. Because what seems to be the show's immediate arc stemming from this is him catching up to the power level of the other characters and getting on their level, which is fun because it's perfectly set up to make you want to root for him. I'm already down for him as the main character, and after seeing so many generic isekai, I'm like, yes, a character who has to grow to become stronger, who has to struggle with the grind set. Yeah, he has to go to the gym. Beautiful. And then we got the other 2 main characters. And the premise of this show essentially is that there are these monsters called Katawara that are, at the beginning of the show, the main character doesn't know they exist, but then he meets 2 of them because he sees them with their powers taken on bandits. And we got this guy who hates humans, who would rather, just probably kill or at the very least beat up every human he sees. But he's reined in by his sister, not by blood. They sort of, I don't know exactly how it works. They're probably going to get more into it later. But they sort of announce themselves siblings, and through that form like some kind of pact. And she And she's my favorite character because her goal is literally to just beat up all the bad guys and make the world a better place. She's so pure. She's such an angel. I love her. And she's like constantly reining in her brother, who's like scowling at everyone and wants to end the world and is a misanthrope. And she has this huge speech to a bunch of bandits, like, quit your ways. If you keep on causing people to get angry at you for being thieves and bandits, no one will take care of you in your old age. And so it is logical, therefore, to just be good people. That's the way to go. Silence. Please talk. I've been taking over way too much.
I'll play devil's advocate. There were some bits of this where I could understand why people gave it a low rating. Particularly in the first fight before the big transformation scene. Like, there was some really questionable directing in there where the fight was just painfully hard to follow. You just got a lot of very close shots where, individual actions, you could tell what was going on, but like, as a whole, the fight was just kind of incomprehensible.
I had the opposite reaction where I loved the directing, particularly because the show's aesthetic, it's quote unquote basic on the surface, but you can see Mizukami's art style in the characters, which I love. They've preserved the art style and made it distinct from other shows. And once again, similar with the animation, where it doesn't seem overly flashy on the surface, but then they'll do these like scrolling cuts where it'll like zoom in on the characters in a way that's, more technically impressive than would initially, you would initially think from just looking at the visuals. And then they'll really go all out on certain cuts, and it never looks inconsistent or like janky or anything like that. And for a show that's 37 episodes in today's anime climate, seeing that kind of approach is, in a way, sort of heartening, where you think, okay, they could maybe actually keep this quality going for 37 episodes. They're not going all out and falling short. They're just doing what is reasonable with their resources, or at least that seems to me to be the optimistic read of this show's visuals, where, once again, nothing ever looks bad. Maybe not every shot is as technically impressive as the last, but when they go all out, it looks really good. Like when he transforms into the wolf sort of cat thing by
the Inuyasha.
Yeah. I didn't think of it like that, but you are completely right. He's literally just Inuyasha.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. I just playing devil's advocate there. Like, there's some shots in this that like very technically just stunning. Like, there was this shot of him like waving the sword back and forth, I think. I'm trying to find it in the episode, but it's just very beautiful how they pull it off. There's some very technical gems in there.
Yeah, it's technically impressive, but it's not too flashy, and I think that's why people are maybe giving it the pass, because where's all that Demon Slayer flash? Where's that Jujutsu Kaisen levels of animation? This show doesn't have it on that level, but it's like you appreciate it more if you have an eye for the finer details. If you you've been watching anime for as long as guys like us, and you can tell when some tricks are being pulled, and when a show is doing it's doing well, but in a different way. Like for one thing, like the character art is never once did I watch the whole episode be like, wow, this character art that they're off model. Oh, this sucks. It looks fucking beautiful. They outside of Trigger, because they just kind of have that instant win button. These are probably my favorite designs of the season.
Yeah, like especially for
with the art style for sure.
Yeah, with the only other show that gives it a run for its money, outside of Delicious in Dungeon, which just kind of clears because Trigger, is Buchigiri.
yeah, especially for how long the series is going to be, like how much they need to stretch the budget that they have. Like
Yeah,
it is impressive what they can
that's
do.
my one fear, that like how as anime is one to do, they tend to make the first episode the best looking one, and then the production kind of trails off as it goes along. So how good is the show gonna look at episode 30?
That
Yeah.
once again is my fear as well, and hopefully it does stay together. This does seem like a Prime Video sort of show, assuming it stays good for, let's say, like 15 episodes, and then I could go back and say, hey guys, you missed an actually good show here, and there's 15 episodes of it you can binge right now. So I'm hypnotizing you. ASMR Crunchy Bagels hypnosis. Watch this show.
I'm gonna
right
be
now.
honest, Crunchy. I feel 100 times more drive to do the Castaway anime podcast on this than I do Solo Leveling.
I don't blame you, because
The only problem is no one's gonna watch it because no one's right now is watching this show.
Do a
yeah,
hidden
it's
gem like video or something.
Yeah, but the thing is, no one will watch it unless you have a really good click.
Not right now. Making us unless you are clickbaiting the hell out of it, being like, no one is watching this, like the best anime of the winter 2024.
Look, people for some
I feel
reason
like-
watched my Vampire in the Garden video. People will watch anything if it's well done.
Show. Well, I think the benefit to that video is that show had already been out for at least a year, and you effectively clickbaited it with the title and the thumbnail. And I had the benefit of having the whole show out and be able to watch. This one only has a few episodes out, so I feel like if you want to strike while the iron's hot on this one, you gotta, like Crunchy said, waiting till there's like 12 to 15 episodes out to binge. So people can be like, oh, okay, I've seen your video, now I can go watch the show and see if you're right or not, is the way to go.
Which, of course,
Fair.
we are right, because we're always right. Except for your
course, I mean,
Sengatsu
we've never
takes,
had an incorrect take.
But
No, those are correct too.
fuck you. But yeah, outside of a few disagreements, we are always right about everything, and that's why you should watch this show. It's got great designs, it's got great characters, it's got pretty solid visuals throughout, some of the best animation and directing of the season. Granted, that's not saying much in this season, but it still is some of the best of the season, so I'm still right. It's immediately endearing.
White Fox is doing this one, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, White Fox. So that actually, I didn't know that. That gave me a bit more faith in its future production values, actually. Assuming
I was gonna
that
say
they aren't
it makes
imploding.
sense now why they chose to do this show, because they're White Fox making an anime about a guy who turns into essentially a white fox.
Yeah, as long as like this show can
True.
keep like very steady production value, I think it will be pretty good.
I think if it can keep these production values, it could, like, it could be nearly on par with, like, the other anime that are, anime of the season contenders, like Buchigiri, in my opinion, of course, and Dungeon Meshi, which I think more people agree with.
Yeah, if I could give one W to Biscuit Hammer, not the anime, of course, but the comparing the story content of the first episode ones of the both anime, I would say Biscuit Hammer has a stronger narrative hook, just because it has like way more out there concepts and more like in a lot more intrigue, where there's this giant fucking hammer that's flying over the earth that's gonna smash into the planet if we don't stop it, but also the main character girl wants to stop it because she wants to be the one to destroy the earth, not this hammer. And so it's like, okay, well, now it's like this crazy dynamic that we have to figure out. Meanwhile, this one, the characters are definitely not flat. They have a clear goal outlined where they want to save humans from their wicked ways, despite not being humans themselves, to fight these demons. But I would say, comparing the narrative hooks, Biscuit Hammer has the strongest one, but I've been told to trust the process that is Satoshi Mizukami, who is the like apparently one of the he's like the king of underrated manga gods, because I've heard nothing but gas for Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer and Spirit Circle, which are often called together two of the most heavily underrated and greatest manga of all time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm putting my faith in the Mizukami process, especially because episode 1, once again, despite not having the best hook ever, is still really good if you know what to look for. I guess that might be, why it isn't as big as obviously we want it to be. Where
Yeah, it's definitely
you have
very
to have
understated
an eye for it.
It's not for the normos.
It's a very
Yeah.
understated show so far, with like the couple things that like I think are like weaker in the production, like the CGI hands that the main guy uses, or not the main guy, the guy who turns into a fox. Like
even then,
that
it's
is
not the
that is
the worst
weaker,
thing
but
I've
it's
ever
not
seen in my life.
terrible. But it stands out enough that like I think a very casual viewer of anime would notice
I would
it.
sooner throw all the kinds of shit on the CGI skeletons or the what another show that had bad CGI, the fucking CGI horses in like the very beginning of Villainous level 99 that looked atrocious.
Yeah, I agree. I just
Dude,
think
the
that
CGI
like
horses in Mushoku Tensei looked worse than the CGI hands in this show. And Mushoku Tensei is huge and really good. So
I just think it's
I'm
like
not
very
really
little
sure if
things
that's
that
it.
like people will notice that might turn them off. I
Well,
don't
see,
think it
these are the same
should.
people who rated an isekai like a 7.6 out of 10 or whatever. That probably looked worse overall. So,
But the people who
yeah,
are going
they're
to watch
just
this are not the
insane.
same audience as an isekai. That's the problem. It's going to be the people that this would be for.
This is for people who
is
like
a
good
much-
anime, so
Yeah.
True.
it's a much smaller sample size.
And like for those kinds of people, the bar
much
is
smaller
much
target
higher.
audience.
Like squarely having like the production value here is very good if you know what to look for, but it does come off as middling at some points, and that will turn off the kind of audience that this honestly probably needs.
Well, all I can hope is that in Japan it's getting the recognition that it deserves.
Yeah.
Because the West,
It's very
the West
Japanese
has
focused, so
fallen.
maybe.
West has fallen. They do not like
speaking of-
Sengoku Yoku or Yoko.
Speaking of Japanese and Asian focused, The Way of Pon.
I did not watch this one, so you two are gonna have to enlighten me.
So this is getting mass released on Netflix. So I haven't seen it either. It's technically not out in the West yet.
Okay, well,
Oh, West truly has fallen.
because I
then.
have the power of Minecraft. I saw this one, and it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. It's also not something I think I will enjoy watching. It's one of those propaganda type shows. In this case, it's cute girls doing mahjong. Except for some reason, it has a weirdly magical twist that it did not need at all. So it's about this girl who gets thrown out of her house by her mom because she's making too much damn noise watching those goddamn idol performances on her laptop. So she's, jumping up and down on the bed, screaming while she's swinging the glow sticks everywhere. And so her mom throws her out saying, "You can't have your friends over here anymore. You're too dang loud. You're disturbing everyone. You gotta go find somewhere else to hang out." So she gets a call from her dad saying that, "Hey, I used to have this old mahjong parlor that's out of business, but if you clean it up for me, you guys can hang out there." So she and a couple of her friends go to the parlor. They hang out. They play mahjong. At one point, the girl finds a golden mahjong piece, and out of it spawns a talking sparrow who wants to be the phoenix from Irregular Witch so bad. Like, because it's almost the same joke, but not quite as funny. But Yeah, it's basically just comes down to mahjong propaganda. Like the entire second half of the first episode is just the girls playing mahjong, but they're not really taking it seriously. Like they're making a bunch of kaiji and One Piece references. They're, when they place down a piece, they go laser beam, and they pretend to get shot by the laser beam. It's fine. I just don't I don't see how you can drag this out for 12 episodes.
How are there 2 talking birds in one season?
One talking bird.
No, it
2 talking birds. Oh yeah, Sasaki. I did make a mental note of that, like saying, yeah, Sasaki and Peeps and this one, huh?
That doesn't sound that remarkable, honestly.
No, it's not. For some reason, and I don't this is entirely superfluous and not really a criticism at all. All 5 of the girls, they are supposed to be, I think, high school age. They all have weirdly pronounced tits. Like they don't have any weird physics to them, but they're all the same size and they're all huge.
That's how you pull an audience in to then watch mahjong. That's how you revitalize the game.
I do have a note in here saying this show is mahjong propaganda, and then in all caps, you will never take me with your big-breasted anime babes, China. Even though this is a Japanese animation, but mahjong is a Chinese game, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, overall sounds unremarkable. And by the way, I just realized I haven't actually seen any of the other shows. Like the final 3 we still have left to cover. So, oops. You 2 will have to carry the discussion.
The last 2 notes I have about Way of Pon is that there's one girl who wears all black and red as a goth girl who I swear looks like the old H-anime mascot girl. So that's all I have to say about that. And then I implore you to check out the opening because it is cute and catchy as hell. So after this is over, I'll have you look up the Way of Pon OP, and you'll understand what I mean.
All right, then.
All right.
Yeah. So Crunchy, this was the one that I was saying that you might have a relation to with the strongest tanks Labyrinth raids, because the main character is a syscon.
I should have seen that coming. Fuck. That's still not convincing me to watch an isekai, though. Screw that.
No, it's not good. I dropped it after 5 minutes.
Well, there you go. I made the right decision.
It's literally indistinguishable from any of those other, competent guy gets kicked out of the hero's party shit.
Well,
Yeah,
who could have guessed?
legitimately, for the synopsis of this, you could probably take half of what I said about the Unwanted Undead Adventurer, combine it with some of the stuff from other shows this season, and you have a pretty good synopsis of this. It's not particularly noteworthy. It's a shield hero again.
That's all I have to say. That's literally all I have to say about it.
No,
it's not even shield hero again. Shield hero had at least intrigue. Where there was a conspiracy against him.
I'm not saying that it's like Shield Hero. I'm just saying you could tell clearly where it's drawing inspiration from.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a note written here that there's at some point a smoke screen or smoke green screen effect that is just super out of place. And that's it. That's my notes.
Hey, blaze through that one in record time. Just we'll probably blaze through this one in record time too. Delusional Monthly Magazine. My only note for this show is that it has the worst soundtrack of the season because it is goddamn blips and bloops that do not have a melody.
This show I don't get because it's it's very much looks like it's going to go down the female focused fan service route. But it just looks so bad that I don't know how they're going to pull that off.
The only thing I liked from this show is the dog.
Yeah, so basic premise is that there's this science dude, and like literally they call him scientist, and he's from Science Institute. So as generic as you can get. He discovers
all the designs except for the dog are ugly as sin, by the way.
he discovers a lost continent.
The scientist dude straight up looks like the Mad Hatter.
Yeah, he discovers a lost continent and a lost artifact on said lost continent. And when he wants to get his paper on it published, Science Institute says no. And so he goes to the show title magazine and wants to have it published. However, he also has this bad karma spirit around him. And the publisher of the magazine, one of the main characters, can see spirits and is somewhat supernatural and whatnot. And the joke in the first quarter of the episode is, oh, he's scared of the bad karma on the dude, but the dude can't see it, so misunderstanding and hijinks. It's not a good joke, but they tried. And then the Science Institute sends guys in black suits to take out the scientist. And eventually we get to a fight scene where the publisher gets turned into a furry and wreaks havoc on Science Institute. So, yeah, that's the plot.
Oh my god, I completely forgot that they turned into furries in the opening.
Yep.
Hey, yo.
The show was so unmemorable, I forgot about the furries.
It
That is
exists.
a feat, honestly, to make you to just Men in Black memory wipe furries.
No, the only two things I remember is that the designs are hideous. The main dude, the scientist dude, looks like the fucking Lorax, not the Lorax, the Onceler from the Lorax movie in his all green suit and top hat,
Like a
and the soundtrack
dollar
is
store version.
hideous. Yeah.
It's not good. It's... If the premise is your thing, okay, maybe. But no, come on. There's better stuff.
Yeah, and one of those better things is the final show on the block, which I think, and this might be the hottest take of the season, for me at least, this is the most underrated show of the entire season, and I'm gonna call it now, might go down as one of the most underrated shows of the year. I am surprised at how much I enjoyed Meiji Gekken 1874.
Yeah, this
Wow,
was
he was just stunned into silence.
I was waiting for anyone to react to it.
This was just
Well, I
pretty
can't
good.
react because I haven't seen it.
Uh,
All right, well, Crunchy, I will say you kind of missed out on this one.
you want to do the
And
plot
I
for this
probably
one?
could have watched this instead of Undead Adventurer and Tales of Wedding Rings.
Yeah, so, all right, the biggest problem with this show is that it hasn't really done anything to, excuse me, fuck. It hasn't done anything to necessarily warrant being an anime, because the animation of it is, while not bad, is not impressive, and not even like a, Sengoku Youko is technically impressive, despite not being, very flashy. This one is just baseline competent, but the art, the character art is kind of bad. Sometimes the characters are so horribly off model that it looks like at one point the most egregious shot in the episode is where the main character's face looks like it's melting when he's got his head cocked to the side in a diagonal position, and it looks like the right half of his face is his eye is melting off from where his eye socket should be. His face is made of wax or something. But the story and the characters and the plot is what's carrying this show for me. So, and which is crazy because I tend to not enjoy historical anime or historical dramas because they tend to tell the most boring stories imaginable. But this one somehow did it right. So, this show is about this samurai dude named Shizuma, and he used to be a samurai for this castle that was lost and fallen to a government uprising, and has now gone into retirement. He now works as a rickshaw puller, and his final quest for him in life is to find his missing fiance slash his best friend's sister. That was his dying wish when he during the government uprising of his samurai castle. To, hey, I'm dying, man. Please live on and find my sister slash your fiance as my dying wish. And so he, Shizuma's doing that, trying to accomplish that goal, living life as a rickshaw puller in the meantime. Meanwhile, the new government is facing attacks from multiple fronts. There's, former members of the samurai regime, or like of old samurai clans that aren't down with this newfangled government revolution, so they're trying to lead all these assassinations of government officials. And at one point, because Shizuma pulled the rickshaw of a man who was a part of one of these assassination attempts, he gets blamed and framed for an attempted assassination of a government official, so he goes out to clear his name. Meanwhile, in the background, there's this British envoy who has this Japanese woman working under him, who works as a spy to infiltrate the Japanese government to gather intel for the British, to not necessarily to conquer them, but to make sure that they're not getting out of line, because it's more beneficial for Britain and Japan to be trade allies, but still, keep tabs on them, make sure they're not gonna, try any uprisings overseas. And then, while Shizuma is thrust in the middle of this conflict between the government that overthrew his castle and, destroyed his old way of life, and then also he doesn't like them, but at the same time he also doesn't want to be under fire from being targeted for a crime he didn't commit. So he's thwarting assassination attempts against the government. And he fights the dude with a sword that he pulled the rickshaw for that was behind the attempt. And at the end of it, he saves an officer's life, a police officer of the government. And so the officer goes, "Hey, you're a former samurai, eh? Sorry about all that, falsely accusing you. Would you like? You're pretty good with a sword. Would you like to become a police officer and work for the government that overthrew your old way of life?"
Yeah, so this is very much like rooted in Japanese history. Like, if anyone knows Japanese history, this is like very much covering the Meiji Restoration, where samurai ways ended. And it's just a well-told story within that era, honestly.
Yeah, as I was alluding to before, the animation is so bare bones, and there's nothing special, particularly with the direction. That, well, it's not bad, it's not insane either. This could have just been a live action TV show, which I would probably watch if this, because the story is just that good. But as far as stories go, there's so much intrigue and, so much stuff that they set up in just this first episode with all these different pieces. And I didn't even fucking mention that there's this whole other separate group of wandering Ronins who have all these different powers. Or this is one dude with an eye patch and long white hair that is some kind of wandering samurai who busts up this dojo clan who is rigging gambling games. And then he's accompanied by this big fat dude who is able to jump around real high and pull off these, sleight of hand illusions to beat people up. There's this old guy who uses these brews and potions that he makes to make people hallucinate shit, like a chimera lion scorpion thing is tearing them apart, when in actuality nothing's happening to them and they're just freaking out thinking they're getting torn apart. And then there's this archer lady. They're an interesting cast of characters, and there's so many different pieces that the show sets up that it's wow, I'm invested in this story in just the first episode. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's legitimately
And,
one of the better
Crunchy,
first
in order-
episodes this season.
Yeah, and Crunchy to entice you to watch the show a little. The show is directed by Jin Tamamura, who you might know as the series director behind Imose.
Well, see, the issue is Imose's directing isn't that good. It's like one of the weak.
Well,
The presentation of that show is the weakest part. So, oops, you didn't really.
well, the
entice me.
presentation is the weakest part of this show, so I guess it tracks.
Yeah. Well, whatever. It doesn't sound exactly up my alley, but I'm trusting your judgment on this one because we tend to have similar taste in things. So it might check it out sometime.
Let me check what score it. I know it's like super unpopular.
It's like 6 point
Let
something.
me check what's it.
I think.
Yeah, it's a 6.45. It doesn't even have 10,000 users on Mal yet. It has 8.5k.
See, I can already tell it doesn't deserve that for the simple fact that it's not an isekai, and isekai have higher scores than it.
Yeah, there's so much intrigue being set up that I am very much looking forward to watching more of this. It's impossible to make content for because no one's gonna be watching it, and it's hard to sell to an anime crowd when the animation and the presentation isn't exactly very good. Like at the very least with Sengoku Youko, there's like a fantasy element that you can sell people on. With this one, doesn't look like there's gonna be a fantasy element where like the most crazy it gets is the illusion powers and these like wandering Ronins who have not necessarily, they're not magic, they're just borderline superhuman, but like not so far down that path where it's like impossible to think that this could happen in real life.
Yeah, it's also just like a very Japanese show in many regards.
Yeah.
Where it's very much like rooted in culture and history. That like I find it hard for a Western audience to like really build around the show. Who knows? Demon Slayer also has those elements, and I mean, it's Demon Slayer.
Yeah,
like to a much
Demon
lesser
Slayer
degree,
also
but
has way
Demon Slayer has more
mass
shonen
appeal.
aspects to it. Yeah, this has not that.
I'm just
Although I
saying
will
that there's
say
like
the
an
most
example of like a show that has very Japanese imagery surrounding it.
There's a lot of energy to this show in like a cool way. There's this gambling scene where we first see the white hair guy and also the leader of the assassination group who tried to kill this government official. He's there with them at this dojo clan gambling thing where they're throwing dice in a cup and betting on what the number is going to be. And the white-haired dude is able to pick up that the dealer is cheating by hiding dice behind his ear. And so when he gets exposed, the clan leader throws a knife to the guy and says, "Cut off your finger," as like a way to like pay recompense for cheating all these people. And he does do it in front of everyone on screen, and it is kind of raw. And then there's another moment where the Japanese female spy working under the British envoy, the British envoy has this I forget if he's Japanese or another British guy like him. He definitely has a guy who he says was selling guns on the black market, because this is the 1870s where firearms are becoming more commonplace.
Like the first shot of the show is a bunch of guys with swords running at a bunch of guys with guns and getting gunned down.
Yeah. So there's this guy that the British dude caught was he said he was selling guns on the Japanese black market, which he can't have because he needs to slow down the spread of guns in Japan to keep them within control of the British government, because they have guns and the Japanese comparatively don't have nearly as many guns, so he wants to keep that pipeline under control. And so he puts a one bullet in a revolver with 6 chambers and spins it around and then points it at his head and being like, and the female spy's like, "1 bullet in a chamber of 6? You're too kind." And then the guy says, "Oh, don't worry, I don't intend to kill this guy. This is just to instill and invoke fear and make sure he doesn't try to do something like this again. And then when the female spy has collected her payment for her services and she's walking out of the building, you hear a gunshot in the distance, and she smiles, and you're like, oh, that guy got fucking domed.
Yeah, so overall, probably underrated. I'm gonna trust your judgment on this one, but obviously I can't really speak to its quality, unfortunately. Probably
I
should have
think
watched
you'll like it,
this
Crunchy.
instead of. Yeah, is it like an anime original or does it have a source material?
That is
Let
a
me
good question.
confirm that real quick.
I have
It is
no
an
clue.
original.
Damn, so I can't just like read a manga to get better art.
Nope,
okay, if
this
the
is the
animation
only way to
and
enjoy
art,
the story.
yeah, if the animation and art isn't too bad, I'll probably try it out. But yeah,
For all I know, maybe they'll get some like crazy ass guys to do like whenever they get to some big sword fight scenes, and maybe it'll go crazy. I have no reason to necessarily believe that after seeing the fight scenes in episode 1, but maybe they'll prove me wrong.
Yeah, it's hard to tell like where the animation quality will go because I think this is a new studio. Like I was checking their mail, and they have
Sumigi Akita Animation Lab.
they have almost nothing else.
This is their first TV show. Yeah.
So
They have a short and another TV show on the way, which does look like which is a shitty isekai. Hilariously titled, "I was reincarnated as the 7th prince, so I can take my time perfecting my magical ability."
yeah, so
hey, there's your other 7th.
It's hard to tell where this show will go because this studio just doesn't have a track record.
yeah.
I like it. I hope that I'll keep liking it by however many episodes it's been confirmed for. Nothing concrete so far, but I think it'll be pretty good. I've liked what I've seen so far, which is surprising because I expected to drop this after 5 minutes because, once again, I'm not really historically a fan of historical dramas in anime, but this one is setting up so much intrigue and political intrigue with all its plot points that I'm getting into it.
All right, so with that, I think we're done talking about the shows individually. All we have to do left is rank our top 3 and our bottom 3, which is a little difficult this time around because I didn't watch any of the isekai. Well, I won't say I didn't watch any of the isekai. I watched some of the native isekai and the ones that I didn't expect to be isekai, but I didn't watch a lot of the shows that I'd probably hate. However, I do have a good top 3 best shows. So here, Neon, if you have a top 3 and bottom 3 sort of created in full, then you can go
I do,
first.
actually.
All right, so you go first, and then I'm going to find a way to basically rank all the shows that I don't like and see if I can find a way to put, I don't know, to make it make sense despite not having seen everything.
Alright, so I'll give honorable mentions to Metallic Rouge, Buchigiri, Meiji Gekken 1874, and yes, I'm gonna say it, even Hokkaido gals, y'all gave it too much flack. I liked it. But I didn't like it enough to put it in my top 3. So my third favorite is Sengoku Youko. The only reason it's not any higher is because I have slight reservations on how it's going to maintain quality throughout the next 36 episodes of its runtime, and the fact that while it's technically very well sound and will probably go on to be better written than the other 2 shows on this list, the other 2 shows just are hit better as just an overall package of like watching an anime. My second favorite is Sign of Affection because it looks like it's just gonna be a very cute rom-com love story that's gonna tickle the cockles of my heartstrings and make me feel all warm and fuzzy on the inside and be very cute, and that's all I could really ask for it. And of course, to no one's surprise, number 1 is Delicious in Dungeon because Trigger put out a new anime in the year of our Lord, current year, so kind of automatically wins by default. Also helps that the
Alright.
show is, good, but that's
Yeah.
not to be much of a surprise.
Alright, so I've figured out how I'm gonna go about my bottom 3. And now it's time for the top 3 or actually, you know what? No, I don't want to end on a negative note. We're going bottom 3 first. So oh, wait, hold on. You didn't go with your bottom 3. What am I doing?
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're just gonna upend the whole system just cause?
I have dementia. Please continue.
How about in the meantime, we'll let Kai do his top 3.
Yeah, so honorable mentions, Sasaki and Peeps, it's unhinged. I still have no clue if it's actually good or not, but it feels like a massive shitpost that's doing it right. 'Tis Time for Torture Princess. It feels like it's just going to be a fun time to watch.
Oh yeah, I forgot to put that on my honorable mention.
But like, it's doing the same thing over and over. It's hard to say that that's that amazing. Metallic Rouge honestly could have made my top 3 if it had a stronger or a tighter start. Like, it feels like it's juggling too many things right now, and that if it can pull off what it's doing, then it will probably be in my top 3 for the season, but it's just not there yet. My actual top 3, probably... Oh, sorry. Last honorable mention, Solo Leveling. Talked a lot about my problems with the last episode, but that being said, I'm still excited about it. It still has great animation. It's still probably going to be pretty solid. Bottom of my top 3 is A Sign of Affection. Just really enjoyed it. And like, it feels like a love story that is a fresh like take on the tropes that it's exploring. After that, it's probably The Weakest Tamer began a journey to pick up trash. This is the only isekai this season that I have really any hope for, just because of the way that it's being directed and how it's using its isekai format to actually tell a somewhat original story. And the direction and the story are good enough that it's got me interested. I don't think it's necessarily better than the other shows here, but it's definitely the more interesting one, just because of how different it is from the rest of its genre. And then number 1, Delicious in Dungeon. Yeah, it's just the best by like a wide margin. There's not much to say about it. So that's my top 3.
Okay.
So for my honorable mentions for good shows this season, right? So first of all, A Sign of Affection, because despite what I said, it is still decent. I do have some hope for it, and I'll definitely be giving it a second chance. The Foolish Angel Dances with the Devil, because even though the production values were horrid and I would never consider watching another episode of the anime, I do still have some curiosity for the manga, even if I'm pretty sure Kai told us that it wasn't that good. But I still enjoyed the plot for what it was. Gushing Over Magical Girls, surprisingly enough, because although its story is still mid as hell, I will admit, it is entertaining on some level. And I did not dislike watching it. And my final honorable mention, surprisingly enough, Solo Leveling. And that might be surprising because I said a while ago that I put it above Dungeon Meshi for the first episode. But the more I thought about it, the more I felt that that was untrue. And the reason why is because although Solo Leveling's first episode was super entertaining to me, if I compare it to Dungeon Meshi, I just have so much more hope for Delicious in Dungeon. Whereas with Solo Leveling, it's literally a coin flip as to whether or not it's good in the future. Whereas with
Be
Delicious
complaining
in
about the
Dungeon,
adaptation
it
didn't help, probably.
seems- whereas with Delicious in Dungeon, I'm sold on the vision, and I feel like the vision is only going to get better as it continues. And so I have a lot of hope for how it will turn out in the end, which means it's in my top 3, so I'm just gonna go down the list. At number 3, we have Sengoku Youko, which I'm putting there because it's Mizukami. He's apparently the GOAT, and from what I can tell, he is. Like, just by watching this, it seems to be done well in terms of production values. My only issue is, will those hold up? So pretty much what Neon said. At number 2, Delicious in Dungeon. Although I liked the first episode, I don't think I was as positive on it as everyone else was. And I like the vision, though. I see what it's doing, and I think I will like it more and more as it goes on. And so it seems like one of those wait and see sort of shows, but I'm trusting in the process of Trigger right here. And at number 1, I'm the only person who's rating this show as highly as I am. But god damn it, Buchigiri is anime of the season. It's so good. It's an original anime. Its aesthetic is off the walls interesting to me. I love the setting. I love everything about it. It's just this chaotic, swirling mess of ideas, but done actually well, and where it seems like it's going to go somewhere interesting, and that it has so many ideas and is just having so much fun throwing them all at the wall and seeing what sticks, and somehow everything is sticking so far. It's great. I think it will continue being great. There's that slight chance that it sort of derails into just complete nonsense chaos, and if we're in that future, I am very unhappy, but I don't think we are. I think we're in the good timeline, fellas.
I can't
And
believe
that's why
that
I'm
Crunchy
putting
truly has
all
become a
my
Mappa
chips
bro.
into Buchigiri and saying that it's anime of the season. Listen, I was criticizing Jujutsu Kaisen, I don't know, decently.
Yeah, I guess.
In fucking the podcast and in the casties.
Yeah, guys who have never seen their families in the last 3 years.
They got good guys to work on this.
They live at Mappa. They are Mappa. They don't have names anymore. They're just Mappa animator number insert whatever.
No, the
number
office
here.
is the only world that exists for them. There's nothing else.
Become Mappa.
Speaking of destroying your mental health, the
I
worst
become
3 shows of the
Mappa,
season.
destroyer of my mental health.
For the sake of not just filling it up with shitty isekai, I'm gonna make this pretty varied as much as possible. Third worst would be Chain Soldier, cause man, it's so fucking ugly. It's hideous to look at. And the story, even if you just take the story on its face value and try to look past all of the hideous design of the aesthetic of the anime, it's just bad. It's just lame dominatrix. Ooh, step on me, mommy. Let me lick your boots. Please put a collar on me. Wish fulfillment type shit. It's gonna devolve into harem shit. It's not worth it. Second worst, I would say Sasaki and Peeps, just because it was so unbelievably boring and just so many long stretches of characters, bad use shot reverse shot talking back and forth, nothing happening. The idea that could have gone on for 46 minutes was an insult, so had to slap it down there. And then the worst would be probably the worst of the isekai that came out this season, being Instant Death Ability, which is so unbelievably generic and poorly executed that it was laughable. Yes, that's pretty much all I got for the worst 3.
Yeah, so I guess I should go next because just keeping the order. It's gonna be a very similar list. Chain Soldier's my number 3. Oh my god, what happened to the production here? Out of the ones for this season that I've read the source material, or I know at least a little bit about the source material, this is by far the worst. As someone who actually liked the manga a decent amount, just read that. If you like anything about the show, read the manga. It's 10 times better in every aspect. 100 times better in the way of the art. Number 2, or second to last, I guess, would probably be the Demon Prince of Momochi House. This was a like fan service show that, similar to Chain Soldier, messed up on its art. And when you take that out, it's just boring and kind of ugly. And then the worst, in my opinion, is also my instant death ability is so overpowered. This is like a crash course in what not to do in any show. Like having the majority of the first episode being set in a bus on just an open field blows my mind. The CGI is some of the worst I've seen in anime, period, which is saying quite a lot. Anime this season in particular had some horrendous CGI. And like, it's just not a good show. So yeah.
All right, so for my bottom 3, number 3, we've got Snack Basui, because although you could say, oh, well, it's got an interesting concept and art style going on. Yeah, well, that art style is ugly, and that concept will wear thin extremely quickly. I can't imagine myself getting invested in any character in the entire show. And overall, I'm just not down for it. It's ugly and it's painful to watch. I also want it to be known that my number 4 worst on my list was actually Hokkaido Gals Are Super Adorable. Granted, I forgot to put all of the native isekai and isekai adjacent stuff I watched on here, so so yeah, there we go. But at number 2, Demon Prince of Momochi House. Once again, same thing that Kai said. It was bad. I didn't watch most of it, but it was bad. And at number 1, I dedicate this category, this slot on the list, to every single bad isekai that I didn't watch this season, with the knowledge that I didn't have to go through the pain and torment that they would inevitably put me through. Unfortunately, I did actually watch some of them, so I guess of the ones I did watch, it'd be, I don't know, Gekai Elise. It had ideas, but it looked atrocious, and I didn't really know where it was
with
going.
that brings an end to
had,
the
like, no
winter
pulse.
2024 season.
That's it.
Overall,
This was rough.
better than last yeah, it's rough. Better than last winter, where there was like this one had a few more worthwhile shows. I feel like a lot of these shows are kind of wait and see, like Metallic Rouge and Buchigiri, and maybe even Sengoku Youko and Meiji Gekken. But we still got some really good ones, like Delicious in Dungeon and Sign of Affection.
A couple gems out of a pile of shit.
I mean,
Yeah. Hey, maybe for all I know, maybe
Yeah,
I'm being too hard on solo leveling, and maybe it does become peak later. I kind of doubt it, but
Time will tell.
yeah, there are 4 shows that I'm definitely continuing, then a few ones that are up in the air. Initially, I was going to continue gushing over Magical Girls, but the more I hear about it, the less I want to watch it, so I'll probably just drop it. But A Sign of Affection, I'm definitely continuing for at least one more episode. And hey, there's a lot of sequels that, God, I have a lot to watch this season.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll be very
When you take like
entertained
sequels into account,
over
this is
the
actually
coming
not that bad
months.
of a season. But like without sequels, God, this is like
I feel like if I were a Mashal fan, if I had finished Mashal season 1, Mashal would probably be my show of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right now eating good with Ursa Yatsura and Tomazaki and Mashal simultaneously, plus Sengoku Youko, which I'll probably make some kind of video on someday, under the assumption that the production values don't explode. And, you know, Buchigiri and Delicious in Dungeon, they're cooking, in one case quite literally. Solo leveling, I have to watch
You're
because
obligated.
views in Castaway anime. Yeah, I have a moral obligation to watch Solo Leveling and to give the correct take on the biggest show of the season, biggest new show of the season.
Yeah, it's just a...
Yeah,
So with that being said,
it's kind of, unless anyone has
I
any
feel like-
final closing thoughts.
just a weak season.
Yeah, that's kind of what it boils down
Yep,
to.
mid.
Unfortunate.
Anime got mid.
it's okay. Maybe spring will hit hard just like last year.
From
Oh yeah, last what spring got?
Oshinoko season 2, which is going to be peak.
Has that been confirmed for spring?
I think so.
I don't see it show up on
Let
Mal.
me look that up.
Maybe it hasn't.
Definitely been listed here.
I might be
There's
talking out of my
a new
ass.
season of Demon Slayer for those who care. Konosuba season 3, which will be peak. Kaiju number 8. That's gonna be the big
Blue
one.
Archive, the animation.
Eurocamp season 3.
Oh, there's more My Hero Aka.
Oh yeah, there's the new.
Yo, Kazu's not gonna shut up
There's
about
more My
it.
Hero
There's,
Aka.
there's KyoAni's putting out a season 3 of Sound Euphonium, so maybe it's time to catch up on that.
Oh, Kaiju number 8. Damn.
Yeah, I did say that.
I sorry, I didn't see.
Yozakura family.
Yeah, so who
and
knows?
What else? I've heard good things about this Alya sometimes hides her feelings in Russian show.
Oh yeah, the manga's pretty good.
It's
I've
being
read that.
Yeah, it's being made by Doga Kobo. It's a light novel.
No, there's also manga. I
Oh,
believe.
I'm sure there's a manga adaptation. Cloverworks is making a web manga show called Windbreaker, so that could be pretty good.
Oh, there's Irregular at
Uh,
Magical High School season 3. So that needed to go on.
Oh yeah, they are still making that. Vlusky is hard selling this girls band cry show as like another coming of Bochi.
Girls Band Cries. Is that the one written by Yukiyaku?
I think so.
If it is, I'm going to be gassing that hard.
Let me... Oh, is it that
Dude,
one?
Yukiyaku writing with good
Okay,
production
no.
values.
You're thinking of the jellyfish one. This is the Bochi.
Oh
like-
yeah, I am thinking of that.
No, this
I'm
one's
gonna
written
type
by
in
Juki
jellyfish on
Hanada.
AniList and hope it appears.
who is also doing the
see.
script and series composition for Sengoku Youko, if that makes you feel any better.
Oh, okay. So the jellyfish can't swim in the night of Yorakuda is also Dogakoba, also spring 2024,
Oh, is it? I can't
and
find
also going to be peak.
it. Maybe
According to AniList, it is.
maybe I passed it. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
Oh, there's more Shadowverse.
Oh yeah, there it is. It just
I mean, the characters look great.
yeah. Okay, yeah, that one looks like it'll be good. So yeah, TLDR, spring is gonna be better, hopefully. Would be a shame if so many of these shows
certainly,
turned out to be
considering
bad.
we have Yukiyaku with good production values. Like that's all I need in life.
I don't know. Chain Soldier was hyped, and then that happened. So who knows?
If production IG can carry Kaiju number 8, I think we'll be set no matter what else comes out the next season.
Yeah, and with that, considering we're literally talking about the next season at this point,
it's time.
I
to
guess
wrap
it's
up,
time
so-
to wrap up.
Yeah, so that'll do it for this episode of the Castaway Anime Podcast. If y'all enjoyed watching, please be sure to leave a like down in the comments to let us know what you think of the season. What were your favorite and least favorite shows of the season? What are you looking forward to watching this season? Anything you want us to cover on Castaway Anime? Go ahead and leave a comment down below. Be sure to subscribe to this channel, subscribe to Crunchy's channel, subscribe to Kai's channel, all linked in the description, and Keksi's as well, even though he couldn't make it for this second half of the podcast. And yeah, look forward to us covering Solo Leveling, Freerun, Undead Unluck, when we eventually get back to Bleach. And yep, at the end of the day, that'll just about do her for this episode of Castaway Anime. I'm Neon Manta.
And I'm Crunchy Bagels.
And you'll see us next time.